This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Live, very crossroads where the devil put a fiddle of gold against your soul because, like MJF, he thought he was better than you. The Nerdy Manroom Show with your host, Hassel and Monster. The Monster, been a big week. A lot of things going on. Let's give a little love to the Zone.
Yeah. So before we get too far into the show, we want to make sure we thank our sponsor, the Zone Collectibles. They have a store located in Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs, from comics to Legos to trading cards, toys, games, and anything more that you can think of. You can also find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com or on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles. And if you go to their Facebook page right now, you'll see a lot of events that they have coming up that they are partaking in, whether they're sponsoring or joining in with as well. We will have more of those details on next week's show as far as what all they're taking part in, but you can find it right now already on Facebook. And help them support the local artist community through their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. So, Hassel, we had a very big week last week. We had a great interview, and it was, and as good as it was, it went a little longer than we expected, so we didn't get a chance to go into many details about the news and stuff that's coming out. So, much like we had to do a couple weeks ago, we're going to do a news-centric show where we're going to share with you all the news, and as well as some of the follow-up and activities that Hassel got to partake in the Southeast Mayhem Con. And we'll be sharing all that in this week, but no extra topics this week other than news, but we do have a lot of news that came out. So if you're ready, we'll jump straight into it and kick it off.
Let's dive in. I think we got some big Super Bowl news.
Yeah. LA Rams are your official Super Bowl 56 champions.
Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? I mean, they stacked the deck and they essentially traded away all future hopes of a draft pick for. I don't think they get a draft pick, first round draft pick for 2 more years maybe. But so I mean, this team had to win to be a success. But wow, they sure done it.
Yeah, and I was surprised that they pulled it off. I honestly, I think that they were favored, at least from my understanding, to win anyway. But honestly, after watching it in the first quarter, second quarter, it seemed pretty intense, and it seemed to be going back and forth pretty well. I thought that after they lost Beckham that they were done. I thought they were going to be able to pull it off. Yeah,
I kind of was worried about that a little bit when he went down, but there was just some Georgia Bulldogs on that team out there on the field, so they pulled it out. And Joe Burrow has nothing to be ashamed of. This kid's got a mega star future ahead, and I promise you that's not the last time you're going to see Joe Burrow and the Bengals in the Super Bowl. I think they're building something long term there.
Yeah, it was a great game. It was a nail-biter. It was close the entire time. It wasn't one of these where it's just a blowout or it's completely one-sided. So that was nice to see. We'll see how it goes next year. And most of your long-term who have been there the last few years who have pulled out the wins, your Tom Brady's, your Gronkowski's, and them. Most of them are getting out of the game, so it's going to be a pretty open field next year to see who goes.
I'm not gonna lie, I popped pretty big during the halftime show. I was pretty excited about that, right? That was probably the best halftime show I've seen that it comes to memory. I can't think of a better one, honestly. But
the thing about that is we say that now, but if you've seen the meme that says, hey, when we were kids and we were watching the Super Bowl, it's like, oh, they've got the Who and the Rolling Stones out there. Who cares about them anymore? Well, why don't they have anything hip and all? And then we see this one, we're all behind it, and we're like, wait a minute. That was 30, 20 years ago when they were popular. Oh, damn it. Now we're on that side of the field.
Yeah, I was literally looking around the sports bar I was at and just kind of taking it in because, there's a bunch of everybody there. They're sitting there nodding heads and they're into it and they're singing, mouth singing. And I'm kind of gauging it like, ooh. Yeah, we're kind of dating ourselves here a little bit, guys.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it. But again, it was one of those things where I enjoyed it right up until I realized, damn it. Now we're the old people and all the kids are like, who are half of these folks?
50 cents was every bit of $2 I mean, he's a big boy now.
Entertaining Super Bowl, but we did have some other sports news this week, mostly wrestling, AEW. So we got this Forbidden Door debut, which I think Tony Khan might have been blowing. I think he got a shiny new toy and blew it out of proportion. But Keith Lee did join the team as an all elite wrestler, which is great for Keith Lee. But I'm not sure I'm not sure they understood the point of Forbidden Door, where that's if you're still already in a company and you leave and go over.
Yeah,
that's a Lex Luger from the '90s move.
He was released some time
Lex
ago.
Luger.
No, and that's the whole reason they had the knee-jerk reaction and get Switchblade Jay White or whatever his name is to show up. But at the end of the day, your average American fan, they don't know who the hell Switchblade Jay White is. I mean, let's be honest. This if you're not a New Japan watcher and you don't follow, their brand, you don't know who the hell he is. I guarantee you 80% of the people watching at home had to Google him just to make the connection that he's Bullet Club and all that bullshit.
Yeah, it was interesting, but I think the more interesting AEW news was what broke today, which was Cody and Brandy Rhodes are no longer elite, both leaving the company, according to announcements from today.
And there's been some confirmation from within WWE that he has reached out to them already.
Yeah, and I think the really interesting thing though with Cody though, and I'm not a Cody fan myself. I've never cared for him much in the ring or his character, but I think the wrestling for him has really just been a means to an end. He really wants to be an actor, and you can see that because every chance he gets to be in a bit part anywhere, he takes it. And in all the shows he was trying to do on TBS and TNT, so I think it was just a means to an end. I don't think he was ever a true wrestling aficionado like a lot of the other folks who started AEW and the other EVPs there, but seeing them leave is no surprise to me. Now, I thought they would have left and maybe not gone back to WWE, but at the end of the day, if you watch Cody and Brandy Rhodes, they really want to be Stephanie McMahon and Triple H.
They tried to be that generic version for AEW, and they got a couple little, knockoff shows or whatever, but that's where it's going to stop because their little Miz and Mrs. knockoff, I promise you, TNT is not going to keep them going with him being off AEW. That little game show he's on, he is not going to still be on there, not being on AEW each week. That was the whole reason behind them allowing that, so to speak. So, let's face it, if he does return to WWE,
WWE is not going to allow him to go do those other things either. I mean, they cut off their talent and put them only on things that they support. And if it ain't on Peacock or Fox, they're not going to follow. They're not going.
Well, they're not going to use him to a manner that he's going to be used at either, because he was used at a high profile in AEW, whether he touched the title or not, and that was by design. But they're not going to put. It's not like he's going to go to WWE and be put in a Universal title match, because I promise you, if you're looking at Roman Reigns on one side of the ring, and you're looking at Cody on the other, sorry, kid.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's a ton of wrestlers that are sleeved out and have tattoos and all everywhere. But that prison neck tattoo that Cody Rhodes has, WWE is not going to support that one right there.
No, because at 55, Goldberg will spear that tattoo off of him.
Yeah. But while we're talking about people, very high up in the company reportedly leaving, we've had some news back and forth last week that Shane McMahon was reportedly let go from WWE, and I say reportedly because now there have been conflicting reports saying, he was taken off air, he's not going to be an on-air talent, but his contract's not void and gone, so he's still employed by the company. He just can't be on TV right now.
He's drawing a check, but he's not allowed to show up. I mean, unless he has some creative, burning or desire to be there. Make that money and sit home. You could be like WCW stars during the invasions. Just draw that check, baby.
And it's crazy because, you and I had talked about this off air, but, his dad is the one who had to tell him, hey, go home, don't be here, because he had all the backstage heat, which is kind of insane because a lot of people will tell you, from backstage interviews and stuff that he's the one McMahon that everybody likes. He's the one that everybody's buddy with, and he actually usually has good ideas and stuff, but his role in the Royal Rumble, whatever it was going to be, and him trying to blow himself out of proportion just seemed to backfire badly for him.
That was the interesting thing, because, originally it was worded out there that, the whole reason he was sent home was because his poor booking of the Royal Rumble. He was the booker for the Royal Rumble and who put it together. But they said that he had actually been helping put the Rumbles together the last 4 or 5 years. And even, just before Pat Patterson died, he would help him. So it's, it's not like he hasn't ate from the tree of knowledge on how to do this. And I don't know if maybe he just wanted to feature himself too prominently, or maybe he felt he had to take the ball because, let's face it, WWE is not what it once were. So, I mean, maybe he felt he had to take the ball.
And I don't have this necessarily in our news, but if you watch the Pat McAfee interview that he did this past weekend with Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar pointed out, said everybody, they need to worry about how to get somebody over versus what's their next high spot. And maybe he was real needed to save the company. I don't know, but it didn't work out too well for him. But while we're on WWE, we did, and we'll jump straight into toy news. But we've got a ton of figure reveals. Seems like they're going to be doing this every month, from what I'm seeing right now. Just doing a monthly reveal. But for February, we've got several figures coming out. We've got an Elite Series 94 with Stephanie McMahon, Bret Hart, a Bret Hart Chase figure. I'm not sure what the difference in the two is.
The Chase figure, he has the when he first won the Intercontinental title, he still had the straight stripe down his legs, as opposed to the flamed look that he traditionally had later as a single. He still was almost in Hart Foundation attire. Okay,
yeah, because I had seen the figures, but I'd only seen just like basically one of them. But they're rounding out that series as a British Bulldog and Mace, who I don't know why this dude's even still employed at this point because they don't do anything with them, but.
Bulldog looks good, and both of the hearts look good, other than the fact that the forehead is way too big on Bret. Like when you take the glasses off of him, it's bad.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of those most of the time anyway. But the next series is, I think, the more, I guess, the low key version of character. This is their basic series 130. You've got AJ Styles, John Cena, and Omos in that wave. Nothing much to report there other than that.
Omos looks terrible too. He looks bad.
Yeah, I was trying not to make too much fun of him, but yeah. WWE Legends Series 15 Target exclusive. You've got a Lex Luger Chase, who has a NWO shirt from what I've seen. I
believe the Wolf Pack is the common version. The 80s Luger is the Chase.
Okay, I thought the Wolf Pack was the Chase one. Okay, I had them backwards then.
No, Feathered and Beautiful is the Chase.
Gotcha. Stacy Keibler, an X-Pac, and a Kane in that series to round it out. Superstar ring bundle with John Cena and The Rock. It's a new WrestleMania ring with John Cena and The Rock figures in it. I don't know. Mostly because there's nobody else over who could sell that ring if anybody needs it. WWE Superstars Wave 2 Walmart exclusives, and these look like they're taking the place of the He-Man and WWE crossovers. They have that same body build, but there's a Shawn Michaels, an Ultimate Warrior, and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and I think they're both in their Outsiders attire for these.
Yeah, then they have the WCW tag titles, the good version of the tag titles.
Then there's another bundle pack. It's a wrestling ring. It's a WWE Wrecking Crash and Crush bundle, and I can't hardly even say that, with a Drew McIntyre and Lashley. It's like the ring and everything that they hide under it, including one of the Undertaker's motorcycles that's probably been parked under there for the last 50 years. Ruthless Aggression Series 1 Walmart exclusives. There's a Brock Lesnar, Batista, and Shawn Michaels, and these honestly look like they remind me of the Elite Series that Target exclusives are. They're just Walmart versions now with different characters. And I mean, these look a little more accurate, I guess is the best word I can use for them for what they are.
Yeah, they're just under the Elite, but they're,
Yeah. Then there's a Ringside Collectibles exclusive NWO Wolfpack Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Now, they've already done just regular NWO Hulk Hogan for this, right?
Well, in the Ultimate Wave, you got Hollywood Hulk Hogan, which was the first version where, he has the lightning down his pants. This is the after the Finger Poke of Doom version.
Yeah, and I noticed he had the Wolfpack colors. All the NWO stuff was red and black versus black and white.
Ultimately, actually, looks pretty good, but it's just a repaint. They're going with Hasbro's approach.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on that in a little bit because I've got some things on that I wanted to share with you that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet. There's an Ultimate Edition Fan Takeover Amazon exclusive Shawn Michaels. It reminds me a lot of the Ringside Collectible stuff, just as an Amazon exclusive from what I saw of it.
Well, Amazon gets all those fan takeovers, and they're actually pretty nice looking. That Sean there, that's probably a 94 Sean. It actually looks
Yeah,
real
it's
good.
the red and white
Yeah.
look. And then the last thing I saw that they revealed was an Ultimate Edition Wave 13. There's a Hulk Hogan and Mr. T figure. I think these are both individually packed, if I'm not mistaken, but it's their WrestleMania 1 appearance, right?
Yeah. It's Mania 1, Hogan and Mr. T, and they both look really good.
Yeah, they do. Again, I don't collect a lot of wrestling stuff, so I'm probably not going in for them, but I know you probably looked at some of those and decided you might be going for them.
I'm going to probably go in for the Hollywood Hogan Wolfpack Edition, and I'm kind of borderlining on the Takeover Shawn Michaels, because I've never been a big Shawn Michaels fan, but that was kind of one of his more iconic looks. And, you know, back before he become an arrogant prick, I suppose. So he was still enjoyable in the ring to watch.
Well, he was still he was on his way there at that point in time.
Oh, he was well on his way.
But that kind of rounds out the wrestling figures we had, but we do have a lot of announcements. Super 7 had their 7 days of reveals over the last couple of weeks. And I should mention, you know, I think we've already broached it a little bit, but some of this will be a little bit dated because we weren't able to do news last week. But one of the first things they showed is Who Framed Roger Rabbit reaction figures, which are actually up for pre-order now. There's a Roger Rabbit, Jessica Rabbit, Judge Doom, and Smarty and Stupid. Interesting thing about some of this, and I'll go ahead and mention it now, is I was actually watching a lot of interviews with Brian Flynn during the Super 7 days, and you know, like he mentioned, who does anybody really want Roger Rabbit figures? Who knows? He said, but if nothing else, it's ones that I wanted, and since I own the company, we're going to do some stuff I want to do, and if nobody buys it, we won't do any more. And if they do, hey, he said, because you know, Jessica Rabbit's going to sell, because that was every kid's fantasy as a kid. But does anybody really even know who Smarty and Stupid the Weasels are? Was his words. He's like, I don't know, but at least they're made. And if I want them, then I've got them.
Interesting enough, our guest last week, David Howard Thornton, is a huge Roger Rabbit fan. Yes,
I don't remember us talking about that, but that's interesting.
That's a hassle note right there, baby.
Some other reactions we saw. There was a Mighty Morphin Wave 3 revealed that's coming this spring. It's got Billy the Blue Ranger, Mega Dragon Zord, Squat, Babu, and Rito Revolto figures. I like the way those things look for what they are. I can't force myself to collect them. I got to stop at some point. That's where I've kind of drawn the line. But they did have a really cool Super 7 Cyborg line Dragon Zord teaser that came out. It's mostly schematics of the figure, what it would look like if it was a real machine. And you know kind of what those Super 7 Cyborgs look like anyway. They're just oversized robots, but looked really cool in the artwork. And that's almost enough to make me want to buy it.
Completely shit the bed with that one. I may actually go in for that one. I haven't for any of the others, but I may own that one.
That's the first one that's caught my attention enough to think about it. But we do have a lot of other reaction figures from them that I have absolutely no interest in, but we want to bring them up just in case. Like Brian Flynn said, if you don't like them, you don't need them. That's fine. Don't spend the money. But if you want them, they'll exist somewhere. There's a Disney Mickey and Friends reaction wave with Mickey, Donald, Goofy, and Pluto. They're not up for pre-order yet. We just seen pictures of them so far, unless they've come up since I saw that note, and I not delved too much into them. Simpsons Mcbain reaction figures, which is based on the Mcbain character from The Simpsons, which is kind of a take on 80s and 90s action heroes. He looks like a cross between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis in their little universe. But you've got 2 Mcbain figures in different outfits from his different appearances on the show. There's Scoey. I'm not sure if I'm even saying that name right. And Mendoza, which are other characters. I think one of them was the villain and one was his partner in his movie series inside The Simpsons. Those should be going up for sale sometime this week, but I haven't seen them for sale just yet. I could be wrong. They could be out there. And if anybody knows and we're wrong and you want to share that in the comments with us, please feel free to do so, because we had so much news. I had a hard time keeping up with what actually has gone on sale and what hasn't. So I may have missed them. Feel free to tell us if we did.
I will say with some of those figures that are coming out, I feel like someone needs to buy the FYEs and reopen them so that these can just sit dormant on their shelves like every damn thing else did there.
Well, they sit dormant on Target shelves now. That's where you find them at mostly, and GameStop. Well, I guess GameStop quit carrying them.
Yeah, GameStop can probably, Target can probably absorb the loss a little more.
Yeah. A few other teasers we had. There's a reaction figures of Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem from the Muppets, which is the band that Animal's in. This was a passion project for Brian Flynn. He said he really wanted to have those, but we haven't seen pictures of them yet. We just got the logo of it, and then there's some others. We just saw some logos. There's a Reaction Parks and Recreation figures, which blows my mind that they're even going into something like that.
That was the one I saw last week, and I was just like, can it get much more ridiculous at this point? I mean, come on, dude.
One of the things that I heard him say though is he really wanted to do some Office figures, but they haven't gotten that proper yet. But they did get the okay for Parks and Recreation, which is a lead off from the Office. So he's like, we'll start there. And he says nothing else. There's one or two that he really wants. And if no others get made, oh well, at least he got the ones he wanted.
I'm not a big fan of those, and I'm not a big fan of that show. But if the one guy with the mustache comes with a bottle of whiskey and some bacon, I may actually go in for it just because it's such a manly figure.
Oh man, we do have some others too though. There's Godzilla and Super Cyborg Mecha Godzilla reveals. There's in the reaction scale we've got Godzilla 54, Godzilla 57, Mecha Godzilla, Jet Jaguar, Mothra, and Rodan. And then there's going to be a Super Cyborg Mecha Godzilla, which is easy come off of Dragon Zord, right? I mean, they almost look identical a lot of times anyway, so that was easy to do. But and I did hear him talk about they're going to be doing some Godzilla Ultimates. The problem with those is they're so oversized. He said, height-wise, they're not much different than what you see in a Thundercats figure or something, right? He said, but length-wise, you can lay the model they have right now, you could lay 2.5 line nose down, and that's how long Godzilla is from tip of nose to tail.
Wow.
He's like, so there was no easy way to do those. To sell those, they're going to cost so much that they're going to have to probably do waves of 2 and do like a versus pack, or there'll be 2 separate figures, but it'll be like a versus. Say, okay, if it's this movie that was Godzilla versus Mothra, you're going to get a Godzilla and a Mothra from that particular movie as an Ultimates. And that's one whole wave.
That's actually a very interesting approach. I mean,
what he said was that wave for those figures, that just the Godzilla alone would probably be in the range of almost an $80 figure for that one figure, because of the size of it. So, with that, you got to kind of figure out how you do that as a wave, and you can't do 4 of them. Expect people. He's like, I understand people's frustration. You can't expect somebody to put every bit of money they have onto a figure. So how do we do that and not destroy any goodwill we have with the fans as far as pricing, right?
And I mean, it's kind of off the subject of this there, but like it's kind of like the NECA figures. I go in for a lot of those horror property ones.
Yeah.
And the Kessler Wolf, it finally hit my big bad a few weeks ago. And I got looking at the price, it was a good $10 more than what, the typical NECA is. And I was like, damn, for just a wolf, because, I mean, I was expecting it to be in scale with the other guys. So I was expecting it to be somewhat smaller with just the alternate head. And when it come, I was very, very surprised. The box was pretty good size. And when you open it up, the wolf is pretty damn big.
Yeah.
And the amount of detail that went into both heads was tremendous. So I was like, hats off to NECA on that right there. So yeah, if he does, along the same approach with that, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, and I think, this will probably come up a little more organically as we get into some of the stuff, especially Hasbro, but there were some points he made in several of the interviews, more than once, that I watched, and talking about, hey, how do you price this stuff and still sell it, considering how much more it's costing now to make it. Yeah. And I think there's a conversation in there altogether, but I'll wait till we get to some of the Hasbro stuff, just because that's where we're going to see some more price increases this year. The last thing Super 7 shared with us, though, is a Bruce Lee. They partner with the Bruce Lee family company. They've got a collaboration kicking off with an Ultimates line. There's 2 of them available now, the Challenger from his yellow jumpsuit and the Warrior where he's in his Kung Fu outfit. Both of those are actually up for pre-order now through March 4th with a $55 price tag, or $54.99 actually, but let's just round up at this point. What's one more penny? Release date for late 2022, and we're going to see reaction figures of Bruce Lee coming as well later in the year.
Of course we are.
Of course, because if you're going to get the whole property, you might as well go ahead and
at this point, they should just be doing some reaction figures of Hassel and Monster. I mean, why are these not out there?
That could be.
Somebody will buy them. I will.
I'm not sure anybody wants sets of us, but sure.
Damn right they do.
Another company that's out there, Hiya Toys. We haven't really talked about them much, and they don't come up very often in the U.S. I mean, they're more of a Japanese line. They do mostly 1/18 scale figures, which is around the 4 to 4.5 inch range most of the time, whereas most of ours are 6 inch that we get into. But they put out a teaser for their upcoming 2022 lines. And the really interesting thing in that teaser was that as you looked at it, there's stuff that they've already announced. Aliens, Judge Dredd, RoboCop, Godzilla, Rambo, which I'm going to jump ahead here for a second and talk about that they've already got Rambo and Naruto figures that they've shown images of, or at least shared that they're coming out later this year already in the 1/12 scale, which is a little bit of a different take for them when you've got some Rambo from First Blood and Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi from the Naruto anime series. But the really interesting thing in that logo, though, was there's actually a symbol that looks like Cobra symbol from G.I. Joe. Which would be really interesting to see what they're doing there. So now, I guess if they're going to do 1/12 and they do some 1/12 ones, that might be interesting. But you're already getting those from Hot Toys and
that's just such a odd
3-0
to do. I mean, a 4-inch figure that's a hard push nowadays.
Yeah, and I'm surprised as many people are already they've shared that license for G.I. Joe out with it at this point. Why is Hasbro even still doing their own lines? Yeah, I mean, they've got Super 7 in their Hot Toys, 3-0. Everybody, if Hiya Toys, if this comes to fruition and they're doing G.I. Joes, that's 5 different companies just putting out G.I. Joe figures. I don't need that many G.I. Joes.
The pimp working for G.I. Joe, he is getting wealthy right now because he is hoarding her out all over town.
Oh, man. But while we're on 1/12 scale stuff, let's jump over to Mezco. They've announced some dates for their 2022 virtual toy fair. Since they couldn't go to an actual toy fair, they're actually going to do that this weekend, the February 19th through the 20th. There's going to be product reveals, exclusives, and giveaways from them. That's all the details we've gotten so far, but I mean, it's Saturday and Sunday at this point. So as we're recording on the 15th here on Tuesday. So probably we'll check it out and try to share what we can next week from it. But I would look for, probably several reveals from them on that point in time. Hot Toys. We've got a Doc Ock from No Way Home that they revealed in their 1/6 scale. It's not up for pre-order yet. They've just revealed it. And they've also revealed another one that's not up for pre-order yet, but it's a Book of Boba Fett, 1/4 scale Boba Fett. And the Boba Fett is impressive. The Doc Ock was pretty cool too, and he had like nanotech tentacles and stuff from the movie. I mean, he looked really good, but that Boba Fett blew me away with all the different accessories he's got, including he's got like little maps that pop up from his that you can attach that pop up from his gauntlets. Look at the throne room and other places, and they're actually light up LEDs inside them. So once you plug them in, they'll actually light up if you buy the deluxe version of the figure.
Okay, that is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. The mini holograms, there's flamethrowers. He's got his jetpack that comes on and off with interchangeable heads. So I mean, in that aspect, it wasn't too far different from the others. But as soon as they talked about the LED lights inside of the holograms, that was actually like that's a pretty neat idea to do it from there.
And I will warn anyone that buys him, I have a Hot Toys version, or actually a Sideshow Collectibles. That jetpack is a bitch to put on. Like it legitimately has hooks that you got to just trigger just right. And it is a bitch.
Yeah, I don't have any of Hot Toys and stuff because I look at it and like, oh, that's amazing. And so far out of my price range that I will leave it right where it's at.
Well, this was one that I went in for several years ago. It's the Return of the Jedi, and he comes with the display of Jabba's skiff. And very nice. And I could probably pay mortgage at the time for what I paid for it. So I'm just hoping this went up in value since.
Yeah, and Hasbro's had a lot of stuff from their properties coming out. And I say their property, obviously they don't own Star Wars, but they do a large portion of the Star Wars stuff. But before we jump over to them, we've got one more thing to share from 3-0, who's had a pretty good partnership with Hasbro anyway. But they shared some samples from an event this past weekend. Actually, I say this past weekend. It was the weekend before last at this point. But they displayed several versions of some new Ultraman figures and Iron Man armors they're doing. And we've talked about those a few different times. They didn't go into great detail about these other than showing a picture. But they did show that they actually have a Voltron now. And this is their first 3-0 Voltron. And I think it might even be their first robot besides Iron Man armors and maybe some Ultraman looks. But that Voltron was impressive looking. Yeah. It's almost enough. And honestly, I've watched enough review of the Power Rangers 3-0 figures that it's almost enough to make me want to start buying them. But I need to stop because I don't need any more properties to have to collect at this point. At least not in a different scale.
I have Lord Draken on pre-order.
Yeah, I had to pass on those. And once I got past them and then I saw them in person, I was like, damn, now I wish I'd have bought them. But that's expensive.
That's how I was. I had the White Ranger and I had the Green Ranger also, and then the exclusive Red Ranger with the Dragon Shield. And I just went back and I was like, I got to start cutting some corners. So I went back and canceled them. But I kept Draken, and now, like, I've seen video, reviews of them. It's like, why the fuck did I cancel those?
Yeah.
Who wanted to eat that week? I mean, shit.
Yeah. since we're talking about Power Rangers anyway, we can get on into Hasbro and some of the stuff they've done. Had a lot of stuff going for them in the past couple of weeks. We'll kick it off with Marvel for them. And Marvel, the Legends teams has said they've got a Fan First Monday coming next week on February 21st at 11 a.m. We'll, of course, share whatever recap we get from them at that point in time. And I'm hoping and assuming that we're going to get some of these other ones that that Hassel and I have been banding back and forth about these Legends rumors. And we're going to share with you several listings that are supposedly out on the retail world overseas of waves that are coming, but not try to guess all the figures names because they are all in code names. And this is what Hassel and I have been debating about behind the scenes, and not only the names, but what comes with them. And Hassel wants Speedball to come with a destroyed school of children if he comes out.
Why not? At least a couple little Georgie arms or something.
But we do have a lot of waves, and we didn't want to try and spend all the time because we could be here for days trying to guess who all these figures are. But we will give out some of the rumor waves that we've been hearing about. There's a Disney Plus Wave 3. It's a 7-figure wave with a Build-A-Figure. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Again, another 7-figure wave and Build-A-Figure. Thor, Love, and Thunder, which, we kind of knew all these were coming. They're movie tie-ins, so we know they're going to do some of them. But that's a 7-figure wave. They won't all be movie, but we don't know what. Just like the Doctor Strange one that's coming out now, we don't know how many.
You typically get 1 or 2 figures of the wave that's some comic property.
There's an Unknown Avengers wave, which is the first one that's giving us a date. This is going to be a 7-figure wave, and I'm assuming maybe this is the one they're going to talk about at the Fan First Monday, because a lot of stuff they're talking right now is either coming out very end of this year or the first of next year. But this one's slated for an October-November release date. And then we've got a Captain Marvel 2 wave that's coming out in 2023. The one that I got the most excited for, and I don't know if this one's coming or not, but there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes rumors, and we haven't seen listings yet, but there's a lot of rumblings that there's going to be a deluxe Mojo figure coming this year. If that does come out, that'll be the first one they've done since the Toy Biz one, which is actually still holds up pretty well if you look at it.
Yeah, that was actually a very good figure. The only problem was the spider legs, that it couldn't withstand the weight of the figure himself.
But that may be helped if it does come out as a deluxe versus a Build-A-Figure, because when the deluxe, they're already shipped together like that, and we already know we got to break half the joints loose with a hairdryer half the time to even move them anyway, so maybe that'll help hold it better if it comes out as a deluxe figure. I guess time will tell if it even comes, but we do have some prop replicas as well. There's a Reforged Mjolnir, a retail release of the Tesseract, which I think you and I talked, it's been released before, I think with a DVD set, but now it's going to come out as just itself. There's a metallic gold Infinity Gauntlet and an unknown Black Panther 2 item. I'm assuming it'll be something along the lines of another mask or like they did the beaded bracelet he wore in the movie as well, and maybe it's something like that.
I mean, we could actually probably get a Black Panther helmet, because I don't think have they done one of those like they did all the Iron Man helmets?
I think they did, but I'd have to go back and look to be certain.
I wasn't sure if they had. I know Spider-Man's got one, and we've had Iron Man, War Machine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. I'd have to go back and see when, but I think we did. But I also know they did the Wakandan bracelet, where it's the big beads of what turns into his suit, right?
Yeah.
I can't even think of the metal right now. My brain's the vibranium bracelet.
Vibranium.
Yeah, my brain went dead for a minute. But we did finally have the Legends Bonebreaker Build-A-Figure set go for pre-order. We talked about it. We thought it was going to be like this week, but it actually went into pre-order last week, and I have ordered my Siren, so my X4 shelf is happy now. They're all smiling back there.
I went in for Vulcan myself, and I got Sabretooth. So
I picked up the Havoc also in the Vulcan just to have, but only in package. I didn't buy them to have loose as well. Siren will be loose. She's got to sit on the X4 shelf.
She has to.
I'm going to fit her. That shelf's pretty full now, but I'll find a spot.
As I take a sip of my drink, as Macho Man would say, I see the lust in your eyes. About my cup right here. Yes, that is our logo. I drink and I know things. Courtesy of more custom designs, but hey.
Excellent job by them. The only reason you don't see me drink that is because I do these, because those cups end up all over the place at my house and my son steals them. So
you still had the lust in your eyes. I felt it.
It's for a lot of things. Maybe it's just for you. You never know. Let's return to this news before this gets too far. There is a Shop Disney exclusive Kate Bishop Hawkeye doll. This is more the 11-inch, almost Barbie doll aesthetic. It's available now on Shop Disney at a $49.99 price tag. And I will tell you, while I don't collect those, if you want a resale value, those things resell well. Whether it's Barbie or these Marvel dolls, they get on up there in price. So if you want to collect for a resale value later, I would suggest going and picking one of those now. While we're on the version of dolls, let's talk about this Ghostbusters Amigo 4-pack that came up for pre-order last week. It's a Hasbro Pulse exclusive. Amigo style versions of the original 4 in their first film looks. $70 price tag for the whole group. It coming out in November. I think the Mego stuff is really cool, but the older stuff has the resale value because it was the original first superhero stuff you can get. The newer stuff, unless you're a collector of that style, I have no connection to it myself, and I don't see them resell.
The new stuff is worth about what the old stuff was back then. Nothing. And that's the only reason why it's worth something today, because no one kept the shit. But while we're talking about Ghostbusters, hats off to, Ivan Reitman passed away. So, I mean,
I saw
that this week.
Yeah, I think that was on Monday, the 14th, actually, is when that came out. I saw it early this morning. I didn't get a chance to add it to our news, but, something that we should bring up because he was one of the architects of the Ghostbuster series, along with, Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. And you hate to see that, but fantastic legacy that he left behind.
Absolutely.
While we're still on Hasbro, we've got a lot more news from them, and it should be mentioned that they are starting to pump out these Fan First Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, whatever day they decide to do it on, which was always supposed to be Fan First Friday as a tagline, but they seem to just do it whenever at this point, and I'm assuming that's because Toy Fair didn't happen.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like you and I discussed before, we didn't have Toy Fair, so why not? Because the guy that did Jowers, or however you pronounce it, that does the AEW figures, he's just like randomly throwing them out on Twitter.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason Mezco is doing their own little virtual weekend. But before we jump into a couple of the Fan First that we do have details from, which was a Transformers and a Star Wars, do want to bring up one a Fortnite Victory Royale series officially revealed another figure, the 6-inch deluxe figure of Man Cakes, which is Hassel's porn name whenever he gets into that line of work. He's already decided. I don't play Fortnite. I don't have any figures, but my son does. He loves them, and I got to tell you, they put some love and care into those figures. They are greatly detailed, and they come with all the accessories in the world. This Man Cakes one's supposed to be kind of a cowboy-esque one, and he's got one head. His head is made out of pancakes, which is the name Pancake, but one head is just syrup that goes over the head with his shades and stuff, and then another has got the syrup, and it's got a mustache drawn on it as well that you can put on him and change it out. He's got a rolling cannon that looks like it's from the Civil War. I mean, it's a greatly detailed figure. It's one of those that's, they're doing some of these occasionally just pop up and they're selling them. They're not even doing pre-orders, but we haven't seen any details on this one yet. But like the last figure that Fortnite did, that they never sent out for a pre-order, it just popped up on Walmart because I had to buy it, and I've already put that one up for Christmas. So yes, I do shop that far ahead. It has begun already in February. The first one has arrived. And
yes, he was heckled the other day when we got news of this.
Spend it now, so I ain't got to later. Spread it out.
There you go.
But while we're on Hasbro, we do have our Fan First days that we talked about. First one was a Transformers one. Before we jump into it, they actually did share their first look at their HasLab Victory Saber packaging on their social media on February 2nd. And then on February 4th, they did a Fan First Friday, which was actually on the proper day this time. Who knew? A lot of information shared from them. Some of the stuff is a little bit lackluster, and we'll see that again when we get to the Star Wars Fan First Wednesday, who, Star Wars just does it whenever they want to, but Fridays mean nothing to them.
Neither do the fans.
Well, probably not. But before we jump into the figure reveals for Transformer, because they revealed 15 of them that day, which is and we'll explain why it's lackluster when we get to it, but the first thing they did share was a Beyond Reality. That's their first at-home VR experience game, coming out on March 31st on the PlayStation and Steam VR systems. Now, they've done some VR games before, but most of them are at a theme park or a Dave & Buster's. This is the first one that's going to a home system. Now, I watched the preview that they played for it. It looked a little too, I hate to use the word, but immature for me. I wasn't that drawn into it, but I also don't play a lot of VR games, because if you see the size of these glasses in person, you'll understand why I don't put a VR headset on my head, because these glasses already weigh a ton. I can't put no more up there. But after that, they got into their figure reveals. They had 15 for the day. Now, I'm impressed with this with 15 reveals, but only 5 of them were actually new molds or new figures. The rest were repaints and renamed and repackaged figures.
They're pretty good at that.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that as we get into this because we're going to see the same theme in Star Wars in a minute. But let's go ahead and kick off. They had a 2022 Wave 2 Studio Series. There's a Bumblebee movie series ones for these, and this Bumblebee movie RC and an Ironhide. Now, the RC was actually shown in December as a sneak peek, but now you got more pictures of it, and they also showed the Ironhide, who, let's go ahead and call it out, the Ironhide is a repaint of their Ratchet that's actually set to come out in April. Then we got into the 86 Studio Series, which is the 1986 movie Studio Series. Well, you've got Junkyard, who's one of the Junkions, along with Retgar. Now, this one is a reuse of Retgar's engineering, but the entire upper half of the body is a new mold for the entire upper half. So I give them credit on that one. I won't call that one a repeat. There's Dinobot Sludge, which is the third of the Dinobots we're getting from them in this series, and now those are excellently done. I don't know, Hassel, if you've seen them, but there's two of them at my house from the kids.
Yeah, both of those look really good. Now, some of those 86 series makes me want to buy them, but when I'm trying to shift over to the masterpieces, it's hard. But you know, the Junkion and Sludge both look really good. This next one you're finna touch, so
the Exosuit Spike, which is their core class size, which is their small Transformers. You and I have talked, and you're not a fan of. Now, I would give them credit that this is better than the wheelie who rode on top of Grimlock's back that didn't even have but two joints, and that's at his hip, so he can sit in different positions.
Yeah.
At least this one transforms, but yeah, it is horrendous looking.
I'm not a fan of them when they got like hollow points in their arms, like in the forearm is hollow or whatnot. It's just it's cutting a corner. It's a DS award winner by far to me.
And you brought up how these 86 ones look pretty good for the most part, make you want to buy them, except for you're trying to get into masterpieces, right?
It's one or two with them. It's like it either like really stands out or it goes the opposite direction. And there's no in between with that series, but some of them look amazing.
See, I got the best of both worlds because I collect the masterpiece, which you can see behind me, but my son collects those. So when he gets those and opens up their Studio Series 86 or the Kingdom ones they did, and I'm like, oh, I can play with his, and I don't have to buy them for myself. So I'll transform them a couple times and decide, do I actually want one of these or not? And I will say, because they were on sale and I got them for a little bit less than half price, I did buy a Jazz and Hot Rod out of that Studio Series, but I got them for less than half price at the time because they were on sale for a Christmas sale. So that's
both of those look really good.
They do, and I played with his, and they were pretty neat. I didn't have an inclination to buy them until I saw them for, like I said, they were at 40% of their full price, and I was like, yep, I can go for that. But while we're on Transformers, let's see, what else did they reveal? There's some Walmart exclusives. There's a Beast Wars Sandstorm, which is a repaint of their Kingdom Scorponok with a new head. Their Beast Wars Night Prowler, which is a repaint of Cheetor from that same line. And the Beast Wars Buzzsaw. This is not Buzzsaw from Soundwave's chest. This is a repainted Waspinator from Beast Wars with a new head mold. This is where we're getting into this conversation of their just pumping them out, trying to get stuff out there in people's hands. Now, I think there's a couple of pronged reasons for that because they got to get stuff out there to keep licensing it up and to sell the stuff. But what's easier right now, trying to produce something new and get it over here, or just repaint what you got and get it over here quicker?
And you got some hardcore fans that will still go out and buy them. And it's one thing if you do those like that are like, say you limit them to 2,000 figures, make them extremely rare to where, okay, yeah, it's just a repaint, but at least it's a chase and it's very rare and one day will be worth something. Instead, they'll flood the market with these and you will see these in the ollies within 6 months.
And, I can see where these actually make a little more sense to reuse as much as possible from the mold because there is engineering to them. Now, I think when we get in Star Wars in a minute, that's a different story because there's no engineering. You're just repainting the same figures and giving them back to us.
Yeah.
But I do have a point on the mold on that. So I'll save that for the moment. But other Beast Wars that are coming out, they're in a vintage set. They're in the original, made off the original molds. They're in replicated packaging from the originals. These are Walmart exclusives, and there's a Scorponok and Tigertron coming later this spring. The Red Series line, this is one that I have a problem with the repaints. You actually have, these are actually went up for sale in limited quantities on Hasbro Pulse on the day of the Fan First on the 4th. And some of them are still there. I haven't looked and seen, but these are supposed to be Walmart exclusives after that point when those sell out. But there's a Transformers Prime Knockout from the Transformers Prime cartoon, which is a new body and new mold. He looks pretty cool. And then there's a G1 Ultra Magnus, which is not even Ultra Magnus in all his armor. They just took the Optimus RED figure and repaint it in white. And you and I discussed and behind the scenes, if you're going to give me a repainted figure that doesn't transform for a Transformer anyway, give me all the dang armor for him.
Yeah, just give me some snap together accessories I can throw upon him so he still transforms into Ultra Magnus and is still cool enough to have the white armor Optimus under, so that you realize, or so that the younger generation that wasn't, prevalent to what we had, they understand, okay, this is why he was a badass and able to carry the Matrix, even though he couldn't open it. He was, the same base as Optimus Prime.
Right.
And to me, the only repaints of those that really work are the reformatted ones. Like I went in for the Megatron where he's reformatting just because.
Okay, that's fair, because that's
cool.
a different. It's supposed to be a transformation point, right?
Yes.
The character is changing, but he's not fully changed.
I have him in between my Masterpiece Megatron and Galvatron, so it's bridging the gap there. And the only other one I bought the Starscream that had the Coronation outfit, just because it's so hard to find the Coronation outfit for, without spinning an arm and damn leg for the Masterpiece version.
Which, by the way, I don't know about yours or where you got it, but I got an email that mine on that I bought for my son on Friday. It says it'll be coming out and being charged to me in the next few days and shipping within the next week.
Yeah, I might have got an email about that.
But the last bit of news from the Transformers Fan First Friday was the buzzworthy Bumblebee line. Now, it's like their Studio Series line, but they're repackaging and repainting characters that they've already done in either Studio Series or in the Kingdom Waves. And that's all we saw on this one. Again, we've got B127, which is Bumblebee from the movie, and it's already been done in the Studio Series line. There's a Cup, who's a repaint from the 86 Studio Series line. He's repainted to look more accurate to the screen. He's got a solid chest piece versus a translucent one, and they painted like little rough spots on him like he had on him in the movie. And then there's a Cliff Jumper from the Earthrise line that's been repainted, and they really just changed his windshield out and changed the color of red on him. Again, why this is a lackluster couple of fan first so far, I'm hoping that the Marvel one is going to change that, because they don't do typically too many just repaints. I mean, they use the same body mold a lot, but you get different characters when they repaint them. These so far for this, and then what's next for Star Wars, have not been.
Even though it's going to be a repaint, go the extra mile, put the detail into me. That's the thing. Like, I seen an Astro Train on Instagram today and it's just the basic one of these, whatever the last, it's not a 86 series, but the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And someone that took like just the Gundam paint pens and just kind of outlined in black some of the details here or there. And it looked amazing. I mean, so just go ahead and go the extra mile a little bit for us before you sell this damn figure. I understand trying to keep pricing down, but let's be honest. In a painting job, I mean, it's going through a robot any damn ways. Are you really, saving money?
So since you brought that up, before we even announce what was in the Star Wars Fan First Wednesday, we'll tell you again that most of these are repaints or reissues of same ones. So, but what I got to looking at, I was listening to some of those interviews with Brian Flynn from Super 7, and one of the things he brought up was, they raised the price of their figures within $10 since the pandemic started. And, they started at $44.99. Middle of the pandemic, they're up to $49.99. Now they're at $54.99. He said the reason they had to raise those, and it was part of that conversation about, this is why Godzilla would cost so much as big as he is. The molds for these figures, when they make them in a factory, they are made out of solid steel. The molds are. And then you just pour the plastic in, you mold the plastic, you put the plastic together, you paint the plastic. The price of those steel molds has increased by 40% per mold for one section of a figure. So a mold is not a whole figure. It's just one piece of a moving piece, right? So when you look at the arm, you got hand, forearm, upper arm, and if you got a bicep swivel, well, now you got
the more articulation you have, the more molds you have.
Right. So Hasbro has taken the approach of, we're going to try not to raise the prices. We've gone up $4. We're, for a Legend, we started at $19.99 before pandemic. We're at $24.99 now. Look, $5, right? That's what we've raised it to. Whether with $5, all they can really do at this point is repaint a mold and give it back to you and get it out. Now, part of that's getting it out and getting it produced quickly. And the other part of that is, unless they're going to increase the price by $10 for you for every figure, you're not going to get new molds, because it's easier to take these same ones and just redo them and repaint a figure. And
let's be honest. Are you really going to pay $34 for a Legend?
No, not unless it's a deluxe with extra stuff. No.
No, because exactly. Right now we're paying $39 for a deluxe, and they're typically oversized figures with
41 now. Actually,
is that what it is? Well,
they've gone up to 41.
That's that's a few dollars more. You're not paying $39 for a basic, figure. No.
And that's the point. I think that's why you're seeing so many repaints and remolds, and I won't jump too far ahead here, but that's what we're going to see when we look at these Star Wars figures, especially one in particular near the end. And Hasbro took some major heat today for this one, but let's run through. Yeah, let's run through some of these first, and we will state again, this Fan First Wednesday was from the 9th, so any of this stuff, most of this stuff did not go for pre-sale on that day. There was a few things that went up on the 10th, and I will make sure to try and point that out. So if they're up for pre-sale now, you can get them, but this first group should be up for pre-sale if they haven't already sold out. It's a Black Series. It's Archive. It's the 50th anniversary packaging. So the only thing that's changed on these is they've updated some head sculpts and head molds on them. The rest of it's still the exact same, just with a slight, maybe a better repaint to it. But all of these are from the original trilogy. There's a C-3PO, Lando Calrissian in his skiff guard disguise, Bounty Hunter Dengar, I think is his name if I didn't butcher that. I can't remember him exactly, but he's one of the ones that stands in the background behind Vader and, at the point where they're trying to freeze Han Solo.
Yeah.
There's an Emperor Palpatine from Return of the Jedi. All of these went up for pre-order on the 10th, and will be coming out in the fall of this year. So look for those.
Lando didn't look bad to me. I thought they'd done a pretty good job on that one. I went in for the Emperor just because, like a dumbass, I didn't get the Emperor with the throne.
Now, I will say the head on that Emperor, though, they went back and retouched all the wrinkles to make them look exactly accurate to the screen. That head sculpt on that one actually looks better than the last one they did.
I actually went in for that one. I will get a Lando, but I will wait until I see him at Ollie's and can catch him for like $10. But I will. It does look pretty good. I will get one.
Then we got a Gaming Greats version, which these are the exclusives to GameStops, and they're based off the video game series. It's a Knight Brother Archer from Fallen Jedi, or Jedi Fallen Order, excuse me. I said the name wrong, but it's the Knight Brother Archer. They've already done the Knight Brother, so this is the same one again, and this is a reuse of a Darth Maul body and head, but with a new bow and arrow. And the bow and arrow actually looks very similar to one of the later figures they have in the Black Series. But that one was up for sale already, and it's coming out in fall of this year. Then we got Vintage Collection. We got just one figure from it. It's the 501st Legion Clone Trooper. That went up for pre-order on the 10th as well, and it's coming out later this year. All the Clone Troopers are repaints at this point. There's not much you can say about it. It doesn't matter if it's vintage or Black Series. It's the same body and even the same head most of the time.
Yeah, they have got the most out of that damn figure base. They have done Clone Wars done them a great justice as a series because they have sold so many variants and so many damn different color schemes
of the exact same character,
basic ass figure.
Dude, the only body.
It's crazy because like if you follow.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's crazy if you follow any of these Star Wars pages on Facebook. The Clone Troopers are highly sought after. Like,
oh yeah.
Honestly, I was baffled because as a fan, I don't go after troopers and shit like that. I'm a
me either
core group. If you're not a major player, I don't go for you. But that's the figures that are really up in value and really fan driven. Like you'll see people going, "Hey, I got to have Trooper number 47." It's like, I don't know who this motherfucker is. I've never heard of him.
The only ones in my house is my son loves the Bad Batch, so he's got all those that come out. And there's 2 of those that are up for pre-order. I've already pre-ordered for him now. And then he wants a Captain Rex because Rex has such a prominent role. But beyond that, he's like, I don't care about the rest of them.
They want the most obscure ones. So it's like, because I'll look on there and it's like, and they'll have a picture there. Like, if anybody has this, let me know what you'll sell or trade for. And I'm like, who the fuck went in for that figure?
Yeah. But the only body mold that's gotten more use out of that is the Bucky Cat body mold that Marvel Legends redoes for every figure. That's the only one that's gotten more usage, but at least it's a different character every time. It's not the same person.
But they have got some use out of it.
Yeah. So let's cover the big reveal that they did there in the Star Wars Fan First Wednesday. I keep wanting to say Friday, but they don't know what day of the week it is apparently. Vintage Collection Pulse exclusive. Book of Boba Fett Throne Room. This thing was impressive for the vintage collection. And I'm not a vintage collection person.
And
myself,
that's the 3/4 scale, right?
Yeah.
I was kind of unsure when I first seen the pictures. I was like, if that is in scale, I'm buying it. But then when I seen vintage, I was on the fence. I wasn't sure if it was the 3 3/4 or not. But
it is. But I mean, for what and it has to be, because if you look at the price, it's $229, which sounds like a lot when you think of vintage scale. But if you look at what's got, it's got the throne rolls out by itself. It has a moving spit for the flame pit where you can actually put a little food thing on there and actually spin it around. And I mean, it's got all kind of stuff. But Bib Fortuna does come with it from the Mandalorian season 2 end credit scene where he gets blasted by Boba. Spoiler if you haven't seen that.
Whoopsie.
After a year or two. So, but that's up for pre-order now, available for summer. But I mean, it's impressive. Now, if that had been in 6-inch scale, you're talking a HasLab, and it's probably pricier than the Rancor wannabe was. They did share with us some pipeline reveals, which is at this point it's just character listings. They don't give us the actual images of the figures. It's just images of the characters. But for Vintage Collection, they've got an Anakin Skywalker for Episode 2 and the Mandalorian Commando. For Black Series archive reveals, these are going to be, again, movie ones that are redone, repainted with new head sculpts. There's a Force Awakens Han Solo, a New Hope Chewbacca, a New Hope Grand Moff Tarkin, and a Bosch disguised Princess Leia. Bosch. I don't know how to actually say his name or her name, but it's Bosch, whatever.
Does it have a thermal detonator, though?
Yes, it did. And then for Black Series, there's a Jedi a la Sakura, a new Darth Maul based on a Clone Wars appearance, but we don't know exactly which version. So is it going to be the spider legs? Is it going to be robotic legs?
I was just going to ask, have they put a picture out there? Or does it look too cartoony or not? Because it's not too cartoony looking. I would go in for a Clone Wars version.
They haven't put any pictures of those up yet, because none of these will even come out or be produced until 2023. Because as you're going to see in a minute, some of these ones that actually did go on sale on the 10th, they weren't saying already for fall, or actually not until January 2023 releases. And then the last pipeline reveal was Saul Guerrero from Rogue One. So it's the older version of him played by Forrest Whitaker. But there's a few things that were going up for sale now. There were some were pre-orders. The first one's not a pre-order. It's a Black Series Mando and Grogu pack from, I can't remember the name of the planet, but it's a certain planet they were on. They were very dusted up looking. That one was not a pre-order.
It's the exact same as the one that comes with the Ice Spider.
Yeah.
I mean, the same setup and everything. The only difference is he's covered in mud.
Yeah, and it's going on sale on the 27th of March. It's not going to be for pre-order. It's out there for sale when it comes for sale, which I'm not sure exactly what the thought process behind that was, other than maybe it was supposed to have already been on pre-sale and they didn't do it for some reason. But there are some pre-orders up that went up on the 10th, and this is for Black Series Wave 32, which does have the last two Bad Batch members, Omega and Echo, and then you've got the Mandalorian versions of Ahsoka Tano, a Death Watch Mandalorian, and the Client, who is the person who originally sent Mando after Grogu. And yeah, all those look pretty cool, and I actually like those. The problem I have when they're saying they're available early 2023, January of next year, but people are already finding them in Targets and stuff now. I've seen people buying the entire wave and reviewing the entire wave from a Target just randomly. And then you've got a Vintage Collection Yoda that has been shown back in December as well, and it's up for pre-order and went up for pre-order on the 10th, and it's coming out again in January, just like the rest of them. But at the same time, people are starting to find it as well. No. And then the one that was might have been their downfall today, the Black Chrysanthemum comic book version. He's in one of those comic boxes, which is supposed to be a special edition. He's a $28 price tag, $28.99, $29.99. I think is actually what it came in at. Originally said $28, but I think they bumped it up to $29 at this point. But it's not coming out till 2023 in February, and this is nothing but a repainted Chewbacca with a Masters of the Universe weapons vest on and a few hair extensions added to the front. I mean,
they completely shit the bed with this figure right here. I mean, like, he has none of the gray in his fur. He's slender. He's skinny. I seen something today where there's a Fortnite version of the same figure out there where they done a much better job than what Hasbro did with this right here.
Yeah,
it's like Star Wars. You can't get your figure right, and someone else did.
And this is the one that made me realize, okay, I see what they're doing now. They're going for after seeing those interviews, they're just reusing those molds, not getting new ones because of the price increase on. They don't want to pay for them. They don't want to spend it. You put this out there within 3 minutes of this being posted on Instagram, there were 13 comments, and only 2 out of those 13 were not completely dogging the figure in Hasbro. And those 2 were the ones that the bots on there saying, promote this on this channel.
I'm pretty sure that, some executive said, hey, he's just Chewbacca, but black. No, he's not.
No, he's not.
He is a beefier figure. He, even in his younger days, and that was one of the knocks I seen somebody had posted today as well. Okay, well, he don't have the gray in him because in his comic version, he was not all gray. He didn't have gray in his fur yet.
That's fine, but he's still twice the size of that character.
Easily. He's a very beefy Wookiee. Very beefy. And the little vest he has.
You mean the one he stole from Zodak?
You couldn't have made that look any damn cheaper. I mean, it just looks like a very cheap plastic mold. And it has definition in there, but they done no paint at all on it. So it's like to where they could have just used a little black paint and made that look 10 times better.
The problem with and I get putting it out there because he was just recently in the Book of Boba Fett. But first of all, why wouldn't you give us a Book of Boba Fett version versus the comic version? But second,
and I'll buy that one. If they come out with a Book of Boba Fett and it's a different mold, I will buy it.
Yeah, but secondly,
this piece of shit, no.
They were so proud of that and put it out there as an announcement yesterday that, hey, this is going to go up for pre-sale tomorrow. Then when they put it for pre-sale, everybody said, no, thank you. This was like Rancor all over again. Why?
All I can say is the head of Hasbro, they need to go to whoever the head of their Star Wars division is and say, look here, your ass is fired. I'm sorry. You're just not doing your job.
Yeah.
I get keeping costs down, but you're not doing your job. These fans are not accepting what you're putting out.
No, there needs to be some discussion. I'm not going to harp on them too bad just because we don't know what all goes on behind the scenes, but it's got to be an ugly conversation right now.
It was El Libre. It was bad.
Yeah. So let's jump over to some of the Lego announcements from Star Wars, and these are actually much cooler, unfortunately, than anything we got during that Fan First Wednesday.
How sad is that? Yeah,
some more Lego helmet collections. We shared some on our last news only episode, and from this one we've got a Dark Trooper from the Mandalorian. It's a $60 price tag. I've seen it up for sale, but I don't see a release date. It says pre-order, but it doesn't have a date set on it. But then again, it's on Target, and Target's not putting dates on stuff because they know they're not going to meet these dates, so they're just leaving it. We'll let you know when it ships. There's
surprise.
There's a Mandalorian Dark Trooper attack set that was revealed. It's got Luke versus the Dark Troopers from Mandalorian Season 2. And again, I think because of the pandemic and everything, a lot of this stuff is way behind because this should have been out well over a year ago. But this was actually one that I've heard a lot of people say they kind of want to get. It's a $29.99 price tag, supposed to come out on March 1st. But I always look at this and I'm like, oh, hey, it's a Skywalker and a bunch of people in a hallway. This is not going to end well.
You want to be. You do not want to be there.
No, this is not going to end well. Whether you're a youngling or a robot, it's just not going to go well.
Especially the younglings.
But talking about that Book of Boba Fett throne room we saw from Hasbro, there's a Lego version of it now too, and the Lego version is pretty neat looking. And it actually comes with several Lego figures that you would have found in the throne room. I don't remember who all was. I know Bib Fortuna was in there. I don't remember who all else, but there was like 6 or 7 figures in it as well. And it's only been revealed. It's not up for sale or anything yet, so we don't know the price tag. But it looks like it's probably going to be a larger set. And Legos ain't cheap, man. So I look for that to be a hefty price tag, most likely. One of the things we did see for the younger kids, there's this Mission Fleet toy line, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's kind of like more for the 4+ year old kids, the younger ones. There's a Mandalorian Jedi Luke Skywalker and Grogu X-Wing fighter set that's on sale on Target right now. It's $20. I mean, like I said, it's based more for the kiddies, so it's not like something we're gonna get, but it's a nice intro for them into the series, and I think it's actually available now as well. It's not just a pre-sale. And then we might have missed these in the repaints earlier, but we did have a Black Series Walmart exclusive Boba Fett and Tython from Tython in the Jedi Ruins. They went up for pre-order on the 8th. This one was originally scheduled on the 3rd to go on sale, and then it got pushed back to the 8th. But it's the same Boba Fett that we're seeing from the throne room stuff, just repainted to look with before his armor was polished up.
Yeah, it's battle damaged basically.
Yeah. And then there was a deluxe Dark Trooper that went up for pre-order along with a vintage collection Dinger, and they went up on a Friday, I think on the 4th maybe, and those were actually the Dark Trooper was pretty neat looking. Now, that's a deluxe,
I got
one,
him.
so it's pricier, but
Yeah,
it looks
I bought
nice.
him. He's a good looking figure, and I would have bought that Dinjar had he not been a vintage. Had he been a Black Series, I'd have bought that.
I think that Black Series one was rumored to come, but we haven't seen it just yet. But while we're on the subject of Star Wars, we are out of Hasbro Star Wars stuff, but we do have some stuff coming out from Bluefin or SH Figure Arts. Bluefin owns SH Figure Arts, so call it whichever one you will. But there's a Mandalorian Beskar armor in the 1/12 scale. So that was actually a model kit. Has a detachable jetpack, a dark saber, blaster rifle, pistol, the Beskar spear. I didn't see any pre-order info yet, but it's supposed to be coming out in spring, so I would imagine that's going up pretty soon if it's gonna be coming out that early. And then they revealed images for their Star Wars Visions, Ame, I don't know how to say these names, Ame and Kari. It's based on two of the characters from the Star Wars Visions anime series. It was on Disney Plus. These are Target exclusives. They are already posted on the website, but you can't order them yet. Pre-order is supposed to be coming soon, but they're like $85 a piece. But they're also imports and they're SH Figure Art, so I kind of understand the price.
That's about accurate right here, then.
Yeah, they look cool, and I watched that Vision show, but there was nothing that spoke to me enough to say, "Hey, go buy this."
Yeah, I actually haven't seen it at all. I was waiting on Josh to tell us if it was any good because he loves that sort of stuff. So
I've watched the entire season. There's up and down it because every episode is not the same character. It's vignette stories. This episode is this character exclusively, but some of them are really good, and some of them I struggle to stay awake through. I'm not gonna lie. But while we're on figure arts, we do have some Marvel figure arts that were teased. Now we haven't seen them yet, but we did get a teaser for a No Way Home, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. They've already done Tom Holland's Spider-Man from that, or are producing it right now. There's no details on this one yet. It just shows coming soon and has kind of some vignettes towards those two characters as well. So hopefully I'd like to have all three of those. I will probably go for them in a Legends pack versus going for figure arts just because of the price difference. But
I'm surprised there already isn't a Legends pack with all three.
I imagine that maybe they'll announce that this week, but I would imagine you'd probably see that when it hits the DVD and Blu-ray just to drum up more interest in it again.
Well, I'm just saying to capitalize, you would almost have to have that relatively in the next few months.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I imagine the movie, I've already pre-ordered the movie, but there is no release date for it, so I'm assuming it's probably March, April, I would guess. Based on when it came out, that's usually the time frame, but maybe they'll push it back depending on how well it's doing.
Did you see that streaming-wise, it's going to be on Stars only? It's going to be some time for us on any of the other streaming services?
Yeah, that's all right. I'll get a digital code with it, and it'll be on my streaming service.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean,
partake in.
I will. I have no problem mooching, but it was just odd to me. I was like, wow, this is.
It had to do with some deal that Sony already had with Stars, and they could not modify it, which is crazy considering all the others are already on there. But all the others were already out when Disney Plus started too. So
true.
And Figure Arts did release one more figure or images of their upcoming Doctor Strange from Multiverse of Madness figures. That pre-order hasn't gone up yet either, but it's expected to release in April, so I would be surprised if you didn't see that within the next week or so for a pre-order. So let's change gears and jump over to some different toy lines. Battleverse Action Force Sergeant Slammer went up for sale on Battleverse.com on the 2nd. Now, this is a repackage and repaint of their Sergeant Slaughter, but named Sergeant Slammer, which I think was actually the Action Force Overseas version of Slaughter because they couldn't use that name. It's limited to a run of 500 with only 100 that went up for sale on the 2nd. They sold out pretty quickly because I actually tried to get one with a different name just for the heck of it. But they're supposed to randomly come out after that with a final quantity expected to drop for Joe Fest Toy and Comic Show in June. You could only order one when you were ordering, and I tried, but they sold out within minutes, so I didn't get a chance to. And we don't know when the next 400 will be out. We know probably the last 100, I would imagine, will be in June, so they're going to randomly do these as specials to try and catch when they come out. I guess it's a good way to keep interest in them.
Well, it is. I mean, that's actually pretty smart marketing right there.
Yeah, it is. I thought it was pretty interesting. Boss Fight Studios. I don't know a whole lot about Boss Fight Studios. I can't really speak too much to what they do, but they have pre-orders up now for their 5-inch retro style figures. They're 7 points of articulation. They call them on the Power Stars line, and that's your Defenders of the Earth line. Basically, it's Flash Gordon, the Phantom, Ming the Merciless, and Prince Thun from Flash Gordon, I believe.
And where's Joshua? We need him to hit us with that Flash intro. There you go.
$21.99 per figure, set to release in the fourth quarter of this year. They look really cool, especially for 5-inch figures and having more articulation. They remind me a lot of what we collect as a kids, but I'm not going to spend $22 on them, unfortunately.
They're an enjoyable line, but I mean, these properties just, they don't scream to me. It's not like I said, you know what, I just got to have a Flash Gordon or a Phantom. I mean, these are interesting characters, and I think you could probably still do a great deal with them if you're in a reboot style property, but I'm not going in for it.
And NECA's doing them in the 7 and 8-inch scale.
Yeah.
Or whatever scale they usually use. So, I mean, I've seen them in the stores, and they look really good now. They had everybody complains that they have the NECA articulation. They fall apart as soon as you try and move a joint, but they look awesome. If you're going to be an in-package collector like I am, no big deal. I don't have any of these next ones, the Mythic Legions, but I've seen their Red Krampus figures up for pre-order, and I thought that would probably be one that you would be all about.
I was close. I had to just, I've had to scale my area down. So because I've scaled my area down, I've kind of been a little more selective about what I choose lately, but Hassel was close.
Mythic Legion is done by the Four Horsemen, if I'm not mistaken anyway. Yes. But that Red Krampus is amazing looking. It's a $65 price tag, and it's coming out fourth quarter of this year in time for Christmas this year. So I know it went up last year once for pre-order already, and it's now out again. But it was always planned to be a Christmas this coming year thing. But that was a pretty cool looking figure. And I'm not really a fan of the horror stuff, but that one looked really good. NECA, have you seen the Batman Batarang prop they've got?
I actually cool haven't. Looking. I have not seen this.
It's the Batarang from Batman Beyond. It's got how the edges, the wings were always lit up on the show. They actually light up with LED lights. It's a full size replica. It's going to be sold as a Target exclusive, from what I understand. It's supposed to be shipping to Target stores now, so it should be on shelves pretty soon. I mean, from what I understood when I looked this up a week ago, it was in transit already. So you can't buy them online. You have to go to the stores and get them.
And I'll give them credit. Cool. Now, they do a pretty good job of the detail into their prop replicas, and they're affordable. Like you see them show up at Walmart all the time, like the Batman grappling gun, and the things of this nature that they done for the Batman series look really good, and they're like typically $20. That's wow.
Talking about decently priced, the next group we got is Mcfarland Toys, and actually in realm of action figures, he's held his price to the $18-19 point, and he got a few more reveals this past weekend. I think most of these are up for pre-order now too. Actually, they went up on the 11th, scheduled for a May release. But there's an Arkham Knight from Batman Arkham Knight video game, Green Arrow from Injustice 2, and Reverse Flash from Injustice 2. Now the Reverse Flash is just a repaint of the Flash that they did for Injustice, but the Arkham Knight and Green Arrow one looked pretty cool. He also had a Joker from Death of the Family announced. It's going to be a Walmart Gold Label exclusive figure. Now, I haven't seen if that one's for sale anywhere yet, but typically his stuff gets out pretty quickly. But I did want to touch on something here that I don't think's in the notes, and I don't know if you saw it, Hassel, but Mcfarland actually won #1 toy and action figure distributor.
Yeah, I saw something on that today, and I was matter of fact, I was going to bring that up. You beat me to it. I always wonder if it's not because of the deal he has with Walmart. Being, because there's a Walmart everywhere. I don't care where you go, there's a Walmart.
According to what I saw, it's all based on sales, and that he was the #1 seller in action figures. And his claim on his video that he put saying thank you, and I'll say he wasn't trying to take a dig at anybody from what I watched, but he said thank you to all the fans who went in for it. But he did make a point of bringing up that this having this #1 spot means that he outsold Star Wars, Marvel, X-Men, Spider-Man toys, and I'm like, I think the only way you did that in the last year is only because their stuff wasn't hitting the shelves to actually sell. So I'm not sure where the data comes from. I find that hard to believe. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to knock his figures. They're all pretty neat, but at the same time, if they're not armored or very well like 90s pouched out like a cable or something, the cuts in his body for the joints don't look right to me.
Certain figures he knocks out of the park, and then certain figures just are bad. But he had figures readily available last year when no one else did. However, these container ships they're starting to trickle in because I know I was speaking with the manager of our local Walmart, and he said I was looking for something particular on the shelf, and he was like, chances are, he said, and what it was like, I hadn't seen that in a year. He said, but I've received more trucks in the last week than I have in months. He said, you're about to start seeing everything come in. And from what I understand, because it's flooding in like it is, stuff's going on sale a lot quicker also.
Yeah.
So let's see if he repeats, because now the stuff that's been sitting in water or across seas, it's about to start flooding in.
Well, and you brought up something I didn't even think of until just now, and you brought it up. You're talking about it going on sale. Now, how much stuff of his that went on sale for $9, $10, $11 instead of $19, $20 encouraged people to buy them? Because I haven't bought that many Mcfarland Multiverse figures, which was the line that actually won the award. But I did buy Dr. Fate, and I bought two originally, one for me and one for the kid because he loves that Dr. Fate. But then I got one and it was a gold label. I was like, oh, so I can't give him that one, and I want to open one. He wants to open one. But I went to GameStop that same weekend, and he was on sale for $11, and they had him sitting there. I was like, seriously? And then you look in their reverse, the flash that they had from Injustice. A lot of those are going on sale for $10, $11 because they're not selling as widely available, so they're clearancing them. And when you clearance them for that, somebody's like, I might pick it up for that. They'll pick it up a lot quicker when it's $10 versus $20. At least I will. So I wonder how much that increased his sales too, because his stuff was dropping. His stuff would drop one week, and the next week it'd be on sale already.
Yeah, let's see if he holds the spot. I don't think he will, honestly.
But
he was available at a time when nothing else was.
Yeah. And we'll give him credit. He got his stuff available, and he won the award. More power to him. I think
some figures do look good. I mean, I've seen those that Batman, the three Jokers lineup they done. Yeah. Now, those figures do look good. For non-armored figures, those figures actually look good. The Batman looks great. All three of the Jokers look pretty damn good. So I hats off to him on those, but some of the other stuff's a little.
I give him credit that he got the stuff available, and he did a great job of that, and he deserves the award for that alone. But I don't know that he can turn around and say it again, other than the fact that maybe nothing's just hitting the shelves that he can say, hey, we're outselling everybody. I mean, that was a bold statement to kind of make, because you did it last year, but let's look at the shelves and see what was there, because I went in the stores many times, and Lando Calrissian or Grief Carter were the only Star Wars figures in there, so you can't really say you outsold Star Wars when that's the only two folks around.
There's going to be people buying a Chewbacca repaint. So
yeah. Well, let's jump over to our last bit of toy news. Jakks Pacific, and I think you brought them up earlier, but there's a Sonic the Hedgehog collector edition figure that went up for sale on Target. It's available for shipping and sale now. It wasn't a pre-sale, but it's it looks like Sonic from the movies. It's a $50 price tag. It's supposed to have all kinds of extra stuff in it. I didn't delve into it too great, but it's a pretty neat looking figure. And then Apex Legends figures. I know you don't necessarily play this, and I don't either, but my son does, and he has most of these. But they put 3 of their new figures up for pre-sale. Crypto, Loba, and Octane, and I couldn't tell you who was who without actually going and looking at the name on each one, but those are set to come out in March, and they are a $24.99 price tag. So again, just like we've been talking about, everybody's seeing the price increase. So now when you say it's $24.99 for a Marvel Legend, well, so is it for the Jakks Pacific figure, and let's be honest, Jakks Pacific doesn't put as much effort into them as a Marvel Legends or a Star Wars one does, but everybody's got to at this point. But with that, I think we can jump into comic news, because we got a lot of comic news to go through this week as well. Diamond's Comics Distributors celebrated 40-year anniversary on February 1st. I didn't realize they'd been around that long, but apparently they started in 1982 on February 1st. Steve, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm looking at it trying to, how can I say this without tearing it up? But Jeppy, something like that. He was
along those lines.
Yeah, he was a local comic store owner, and he transitioned into being a distributor for all of his colleagues and got them on board with it. And, they were the largest distributor of English language comics, graphic novels, and pop culture items for the last 40 years. Now, they were the key distributor up until 2020 for the two big comic.
They had a stranglehold on the comic industry for quite a while, but now everybody's wrestled away, and it'd be interesting to see if they make 45 years.
Yeah. Now the nice thing for them is they do all the pop culture stuff too, so maybe that'll keep them afloat, because they do from Funko Pops to Hasbro toys if you want to buy a case for your store or whatever. But They did lose the two big comic lines with DC and Marvel. I think DC's at Lunar Publishing and Marvel's at Penguin Random House, if I'm not mistaken now. And, they're just, I think you can still order through them, but now it's got to go from those distributors to you versus Diamond doing them. So I don't know how long they're going to hold that.
Someone like everyone used to have to buy from Diamond, which is poetic in a way.
Yeah. The interesting thing is they are celebrating that 40 years and hoping for many more, but they're going to have some exclusives this year. I think they said they're going to have 40 weeks of special deals. More information coming on that soon, but I think that's starting in March from what I read. I might be wrong, but their actual anniversary is on February 1st. But I think the 40 weeks of deals are starting either March or April and going to go for the next several weeks, and they're going to do some kind of special every week. I don't know what they are at this point, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure it's not a Marvel or DC item, though. But while we're on them, Marvel Comics has a lot of announcements I saw from them the past couple of weeks. They have Captain Marvel number 36 coming out this week, and while we don't really talk about too many individual issues, I brought this one up just because they're introducing a new binary to Marvel Comics. It's one of Carol Danvers' legacy points, right? So when she lost her Miss Marvel powers and she went out in space as a Starjammer, she had power binary. She was one of the Imperial Guard, and she's used that form a few times since then, but she doesn't use it very often. But now apparently her character, I guess, is missing in current Captain Marvel books. I don't read them, so I'm a little lost. But Binary is going to step in and kind of be taking the place over. And we don't know anything about this character, but the origins are supposed to be revealed across the next few issues of the Captain Marvel book after she appears. Looks like they're trying to build more of a legacy for Captain Marvel, and I'm sure they're doing that because the movies coming out and stuff. And they kind of
I was just going to say, I wonder if Binary is going to kind of play into the new movie or something.
Well, they've had Captain Marvel, they've had the new Miss Marvel, and now Jenna Spell has come back into Captain Marvel comics recently. The original Marvel's son, and now this new Binary. So I think they're just trying to build a legacy for this character like they have for a lot of the others. I think they kind of realize, if we're going to keep pushing her, we might need to build some backstory there and some more down the road, because she's not going to play this character forever. Yeah, but that's starting out, and I believe that book comes out this week, the 16th. So. That'll be
tomorrow.
I want to see the origin, but I don't think I'm going to buy the book. I just want to understand who the character is because I do like the binary design. But while we're on some Marvel books, let's see. Jonathan Hickman and Chris Bachalo, I can't say his name either. They're introducing Moon Knight from 6,000 years in the
artist
future.
Ever.
Yeah. Well, that's a fair statement. They're doing a Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood, and I've been seeing a lot of other series like this. There's an Elektra, there's a Wolverine, and it's supposed to be like a series that's just telling different tales from different time periods for the characters. But this one with Moon Knight, the first issue starts off in April, and it's going to be done by Hickman and Bachalo, and they're going to be doing more Moon Knight from 6,000 years in the future. I'm picking it up just because it's Moon Knight, but I really don't care about Bachalo's stuff. And Hickman
I hate his art. And Hickman's hit and miss on it. Well, everything he done good before X-Men, he has just tarnished.
Yeah, that's what I was. He just needs to go back and finish up whatever he was trying to do in X-Men because they seem to be floundering without trying to figure it out themselves. But we did get a new teaser for another new title coming out in May, though. It's the Thunderbolts. Now I was a little excited about this one when you first sent me the picture with all the characters blacked out, and you could tell who it was. And then as soon as I saw the lineup and the artwork, I said, "Well, never mind."
The only thing interesting was Hawkeye being back with the team.
He's leading the team, and everybody on the team this time, except for the exception of one character, has been strictly heroes. So it's not like Thunderbolts before, where it was bad guys trying to redeem themselves, right? And it's coming out of the Devil's Reign miniseries, which is actually a great read. I got issue 1 and then I got issue 3 in my last shipment, so I'm missing number 2, but that's because they were short stock, so I'm waiting on it to get here so I can catch up on reading it. But this new Thunderbolts team is led by Hawkeye, as you mentioned, and it's got Spectrum, which is your true Captain Marvel legacy there. And then you got America Chavez, who's actually also going to be in the Doctor Strange movie. You've got the new Power Man, he's been in several stories. He's, he has some connection to Luke Cage. He just has the name, but Luke Cage kind of trained him a little bit. Then there's the only one that I know of that has any criminal history, which was Persuasion. She's one of the Purple Man's kids. She's his daughter, and I don't think she has a huge history, just enough that she has been a criminal at least once. But with that power set, it's kind of hard not to end up being at some point.
I would be a villain with that power set, but I mean, Does this not come off as West Coast Avengers and they just didn't want to name it that?
Well, and I don't understand how they're doing it either, because when I read of it, it's like almost like, hey, we're going to deal with whatever problems pop up in just New York. So I don't know if they have a hotline or somebody's calling them or something. I don't get it.
So now they're heroes for hire.
Yeah. So I'm curious as to where they're going to go, but it's not sold me so far. I don't think I'm going to pick it up. I'll probably just read the synopsis, to be perfectly honest.
Is the editor-in-chief of Marvel staying drunk these days? Because as someone who does stay drunk, I can tell you now, I feel like I've had better ideas.
I'll tell you this. There's a lot of stuff that I wasn't too interested in reading, and there's some that I am, and there's some that I picked up and been like, oh, well, that's not as good as it is. And there's some that I picked up like Devil's Reign that's been great. And it's something I wasn't going to buy, like that X Lives and Deaths of Wolverine. I was like, this sounds stupid. Well, I was at the comic shop this weekend. I was like, oh, I didn't order the Reckoning War stuff, so I'm going to pick that up separately, because it's just in Fantastic Four and in one-shots. Yeah. So I picked those up, and I was like, it's only 2 books. Oh, I guess I'll pick these up and see what they're like. Because my shipment was late getting here because of inclement weather. I was like, I got nothing to read. I've caught up. I finished off a couple of graphic novels. I was like, I don't want to start another one because my books are supposed to be here and they're already shipped. So let me pick up something to read in the store. So I bought the first 2 issues of both Lives and Deaths of Wolverine, and I'll be danged if that wasn't actually pretty interesting. And now I'm going to have to finish buying them out. Yeah. Like, the Lives of Wolverine is a story where Omega Red is, spoilers for anyone who doesn't want to hear this, but Omega Red is somehow body hopping through time to different characters and trying to kill Charles Xavier or his ancestors before Charles is leader of the X-Men. And Wolverine, with the help of Jean Grey and Professor X, is sending his consciousness back in time through his own lifetime to try and save Xavier. So you see him at different points in time, and he's taking over his body and having to fight these Omega Red character who's body hopping into different people.
Well, that is very interesting, and I'm a huge Omega Red fan. I like massive Omega Red. Like when he debuted in the '90s, man, he was so awesome. They hadn't done him a lot of justice throughout the year, so I'm happy to see them do something with him. But why would he have? What is his motivation for trying to go back and kill Charles?
So, I haven't finished reading Inferno because it got here late, but apparently maybe it starts out of there. I know the Death of Wolverine does, because the Death of Wolverine is leading straight out of Inferno, where Moira McTaggart has been stripped of her mutant resurrection powers, and she's on the run from Mystique, who's trying to kill her. And there's a Wolverine from the future who's actually a physical Wolverine, not just his consciousness, but a physical one that's come back in time to either kill Moira or help her. They haven't figured it out yet, because he's just chasing her along with and Mystique as well. But the one with Omega Red, apparently, and it's in the X-Force book that he's been in a little bit, but apparently they killed him off and resurrected him and didn't tell him that they could help him out by taking the carbonadium or whatever, the synthesizer for carbonadium out of him to keep him from having to drain life force and make his mutant powers work properly, where he's not always dying from them as well. So they did that and told him they couldn't fix that, even though they could have, in order to put him on the X-Force team and make him help them out with their covert missions. So in the first issue of that X-Lives of Wolverine, you see him find out that truth. He reads.
That's actually kind of interesting, because it gives another layer of just how fucking badass could he possibly be if he weren't.
Yeah.
If he didn't need the synthesizer to
So in the X-Force
fix his powers.
Colossus's older brother, Mikhail Rasputin, the one who can alter reality, is in that book, and he has the Cerebro sword, which was the helmet of Professor Xavier that he was wearing when he got shot through the head in like the very first part of that House of X, Powers of X. And he's rebuilt it into a sword, and he can use it to restore information and memories from some of their past lives if he stabs you with it. And he does that to Omega Red. So he's the one who told Omega Red, hey, they could have helped you and they didn't. So you need to betray them and come back to Mother Russia with me, and we'll take over Russia and we'll deal with the Krakoans. So that's part of his motivation to it. So it's actually pretty interesting. I was like, damn it, now I got to buy this.
You just sold me on this book, Monster.
Yeah, I had to start reading it, so you might as well have to as well.
It's seeming this way.
Oh, but before we linger on that one too long, let's jump ahead, because we've got the Judgment Day crossover. We've got an update on that, which is involving the X-Men as well. And that's the storyline with the X-Men versus the Eternals versus the Avengers, and that's officially going to kick off now with the Free Comic Book Day issue that's coming out on May 7th. Originally, we were just told it was coming, but now this is the official kickoff for it. Supposedly, too, there's going to be a new hero introduced in this. Marvel has big plans for afterwards. I don't know. I think the only thing we got is something with the name is Bloodline. That might be the hero's name or something else, but again, that's going to give us our first glimpse of the Eternals versus X-Men and what starts that war, what's the core of it. And then this character is going to be introduced, and they expect this character to be one they're going to use in a lot of stories going forward now. They don't seem to always have luck with that, so we'll see how that goes, but sounds interesting so far, at least from what little bit we've got. In May, though, we have 2099 returning for the 30th anniversary celebration for the 2099 line. Starting off with Spider-Man 2099. There's a Spider-Man 2099 Exodus Alpha and Exodus issues 1 and 2 in May, and it's going to start a celebration. And then I think they're going to pull in other characters from the 2099 line as well, and maybe have some more books later after the month of May. But 30th anniversary of a lot of the stuff from the 90s. I just finished reading the 30th anniversary of Darkhawk, and my Sleepwalker figure showed up today, so 30th anniversary for him, starting off in the 90s as well.
Well, you know they do Spider-Man are going to probably hit X-Men and Doctor Doom at least, because that was some of the more popular.
Yeah. And I saw on one of the Spider-Man covers, it's got the Ghost Rider 2099 in it as well. So,
I saw
and
that.
The Punisher. Speaking of Ghost Rider and Spider-Man, this one I'm excited for because I actually enjoyed this. Wolverine, Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, and the Grey Hulk, Mr. Fix-It, return as the new Fantastic Four in a 5-issue miniseries.
I'll go in for that one there. I will get that. That was always a very cool concept.
It was a very short-lived team-up. It started in 1991 in Fantastic Four number 347. They're actually going to go back. This is just like that Silver Surfer rebirth in the X-Men Legends books. They're going to go back and tell you what went on while they were a team, and they'll show them interacting with the original Fantastic Four at some point for us over, as well as Avengers, X-Men, other Marvel characters that you didn't see because they were only a team for 2 to 4 issues, maybe.
I thought it was only 2 issues myself.
It might have only been 2, but apparently
very brief.
Yeah, but apparently they stayed together longer, and this is going to go back and tell the stories we didn't get. So it's set in canon, and it is part of it, but at the same time, you've never seen these stories before, so it's just taking place in that same period. Very similar to the Silver Surfer rebirth and the X-Men Legends, like I said. And I've got the Silver Surfer rebirth, but I haven't got a chance to read it yet. So.
And the covers they've shown for that look great.
Oh, yeah. It's very 90s-esque. I'm glad to see him going back and revisiting some of that stuff and doing
I believe it's Arthur
style.
Adams doing the covers, and he's really great.
Yeah, and I think, was he part of it when they originally did that storyline? He might have been. I can't remember.
He was back in the day, and he's had a reemergence in the last 7 or 8 years where he's just showed back up and become very, very popular again. Yeah.
So that one seems pretty interesting. And, Hulk has another big storyline going on where, and I'm going to admit I'm not following it, but it's apparently whatever's going on in the current Hulk books is going to lead to a Hulk versus Thor event in April. The first issue being Hulk versus Thor, Banner of War Alpha, and then it goes into both of the titles and jumps back and forth for a 5-part story between the two, between the Thor book and the Hulk book, but it's basically Hulk versus Thor and whatever aspect that they have to fight in right now. I got to be honest to tell you, I don't know exactly what's going on with them or why they're fighting, but I buy the Thor book, but I don't get Hulk. And Hulk hasn't been in Thor, so apparently none of this has started over there yet for them. There is a new Savage Avengers book coming out in May, though, and this time it's Conan assembling a team of Cloak and Dagger, the Elektra version of Daredevil, Anti-Venom, Weapon H, who I didn't even know was still around. He disappeared as far as I knew, and Black Knight. It could help him survive a battle with the time-displaced Deathlokes who were hunting Conan down. Now, I will say I picked up the first few Savage Avengers books, and they started out pretty well, but it was one of those that I didn't feel the need to keep getting, so I don't know what happened later on, and I don't know.
Well, I thought the book would actually fizzle out relatively early, so I didn't continue it because that's around the time I started falling off from books. And then he's held on for the last 2.5 years or so, and it's like, wow,
yeah,
he's had some staying power that I didn't expect, honestly.
Me either, but apparently this is going to have, I guess Deathlook is hunting because he's a man out of time, out of place, or whatever. So it sounds like an interesting read, but I quit the rest of the Savage Avengers so far back. I don't know if I can go back and catch up to understand what's going on, and I don't know if I want to.
Well, who is actually supposed to be Anti-Venom at this? Is it?
I don't know. Really? I haven't seen. I just saw the Anti-Venom outfit.
That's what I was kind of curious about, because at one time it was Eddie Brock, and then it moved on to
the Flash.
Flash Thompson, yes.
Yeah.
For a while, it was Flash Thompson, but I thought even he had lost the Anti-Venom, so I'm kind of
I thought so.
curious who it actually is, because it's the
I
Eddie
thought
Brock
Flash is
look.
still dead.
The look I've seen for this cover, it's the Eddie Brock Flash Thompson, because the the Anti-Venom, because the Anti-Venom that Flash had his
Looked like the Agent
basically,
Venom.
yeah, it was Agent Venom but white.
Yeah, and the Eddie Brock one was all spiky and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I may pick it up, but I don't want to have to go back and figure out what went on beforehand. And I know I'm going to probably have to.
I'll Instagram it.
And then we do have a couple of Star Wars books coming out. Obi-Wan Kenobi's getting a mini-series in May. The 3-issue series chronicling his life from youngling to his days on Tatooine. So I'm assuming it's a lot of time jumps in it. I'm not sure that it's... I'm sure they're getting that in place in time for what we'll talk about a little bit for, the series has actually got a timeline now for when it's dropping. So I'm sure that's why. And then we do get a trade paperback collection of Black Chrysanthemum. Hopefully it's better than his action figure. That's coming out in May. Covers his appearances from the 2015 Star Wars issues he was in. And then Dr. Aphra Annual, which is another Star Wars book that's going on. I've actually never read that one, so I don't know much about it.
I read some of her the first few issues of that, and like how she was working for Vader and stuff, and it was pretty interesting because I thought, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's where he actually was initially introduced at, but it was pretty interesting. I enjoyed it at the time because during that time the Star Wars books were very well done.
They're still really well done, and I buy a few of them. I've never bought that one, but the thing that catches me the most about this trade is it does have his fight with Obi-Wan that occurs between episodes 3 and 4. So that's the one thing that may draw me to buy it, just to see how that goes. I know it's already out there, but it's an easy way to get the storyline. Let's jump over to DC though, because I can't say too much about this because I'd probably say stuff I shouldn't. But they've announced their 2022 Crisis event, which a couple years ago they said no more crises, which apparently now we're right back to that. So. We've got the Dark Crisis spinning out of the death of the Justice League. Supposed to focus on the remaining heroes of the DC Universe dealing with a coming crisis after the fact that the Justice League's major players are all dead. Couple of things to note here, and then we'll go into our personal spills on it, I'm sure. But the things I've seen from the promo art, Jonathan Kent is supposedly leading these new characters, which starts to bother me already because why? Because you have characters who have been heroes for many more years than he has.
Well, of course, you need a child to do this. I mean,
yeah. But the promo art does have Black Adam on the team, which means that he must be the one who survives the issue 75 massacre of the Justice League because he's on the current team, and they're saying everybody except for one person dies. So I'm guessing that's him, that they've already spoiled that for themselves. And then my bigger problem with this is what the promo art shows. So this team that's doing the Dark Crisis, that's starting the crisis, is being, you've got several villains involved in this: Deathstroke, Darkseid, Ares, Trigon, Doomsday, Necron, Neron the Devil. You have all of these super powerful enemies that the Justice League has struggled to defeat.
Any one of these were the adversary of the entire team.
Yeah, but you've got all of these as the villains here, and you're going to tell me that all the remaining heroes, while a lot of them are cool, like, Captain Atom is extremely powerful. Green Lantern Hal Jordan is still there. If you got Kyle Rayner laying around anywhere, I mean, these are people who could possibly put up some fight, but you can't tell me that them, without the core Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, and with all these new kids like Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent, are going to defeat these dudes. I'm sorry.
This is a prime example why adversaries like Doomsday and Bane become so watered down and worthless after the 90s run, because even Cyborg Superman, they showed up and they just nobody could touch them. And then after their initial loss, they didn't know what to do with them. So every time they needed some sales, they dust them off and bring them back out, but then they destroy them in a few issues. So, and here you are right here. Now we don't know what the hell to do. Let's just cram all these badass villains together.
Yeah.
We'll throw these new heroes at them and let them fuck them up pretty good. And it's not going to work. You're shoving them down. It's almost like Vince McMahon shoving John Cena down your throat. It didn't work. He was a star, yes, but no one loved him like Vince thought they did. And that's going to be the same case here.
Yeah, they want you to say that all these characters are so great, they can defeat this whole team of Darkseid and Necron alone. You can't tell me
That
DC
crown by
has
himself.
Yeah, he almost destroyed the DC universe with a zombie apocalypse.
I mean, he cracked the damn source wall, if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
yeah. You're going to tell me John Kent can handle all these guys along with Damian Wayne? I'm sorry. I don't buy it. I don't see it.
Well, Damian's not even the Batman in this, is he?
No, but
isn't it Fox's son?
Yeah, but Damian's in there as Robin, and he's on the forefront, right at the forefront of the cover, along with John Kent. I said, when I look at that promo art, the first person that pops out to me that has any chance of doing anything in this is Hal Jordan. And everybody else, I'm like, well, if they had like 30 more versions of them, maybe.
Well, to me, Black Adam, he doesn't fit Justice League. I'm sorry. I was interested, 10 years or so ago when they put him in Justice Society?
Yeah.
During Alex Ross and him's run. I mean, that was, and Grant, I'm sorry, Jeff Johns was writing the book. It was pretty damn interesting. Because he was your anti-hero. You're not going to tell me a story where he fits in well with Clark on the team. Or Bruce Wayne.
That's the thing. I will give him. That's the thing that I actually do like about him being on the team right now is that everybody else is like, "Why is Black Adam here? Why is Black Adam here?" And Superman's like, "Look, we never give these people a chance to redeem themselves. He helped with this issue here. He's trying to do better. Give him a chance because I'm willing to give him a chance." I'm like, "All right, I can actually see that and see him being on the team up until he turns on, which is what I fully expect." But they're not going to do that with him right now because he's got a movie coming. So they've got to push him as a hero in order to get people to go watch it.
I just want to see some covers drawn where he does the people's eyebrow.
Yeah. And, that's something we were fixing to get into here in the movie and TV news because that's where we're going next. But let me mention this is a 7-issue series that kicks off in June. But, Black Adam is going to be there because, as we just mentioned, he has a movie coming out. We got an updated look at all the DCEU movies coming out this year. Looks like they tried to beat the Super Bowl trailer weekend and put it out on like Friday instead of Sunday during the game. But I got to admit, some of these images from some of these movies were fantastic. The Black Adam stuff was really, the JSA and Black Adam were awesome.
I was kind of bowled away with Hawkman. He looked really, really good on there.
Dude, Dr. Fate looked amazing too.
Yes.
And James Bond is playing Dr. Fate, so I'm all right with that.
Shaken, not stirred, baby.
Yeah. The stuff from the Flash movie that was in there was pretty interesting, but mostly because it's Michael Keaton, and it wasn't a lot of new stuff, same stuff we've seen already. But
it's not much we haven't already seen. I mean, until I get Michael Keaton in that damn suit, I'm holding off.
I felt the same about the Aquaman 2 stuff. Like, I want to see that, but that was, again, the same stuff we've already seen. Really, the big reveal stuff was the Black Adam and the Batman stuff, and I'm still not sold on the Batman, so I really didn't care one way or the other about it. But the Black Adam stuff was awesome looking.
I will not brave a theater for the Batman. It's just not happening.
Oh, but since this was a big movie trailer weekend, we did get a lot of other stuff. So we got our first official Jurassic World Dominion trailer. Don't strike our video because we've mentioned your movie, like you do all the toys.
Yeah.
I will say, as much as I like those movies, the last few has just been kind of okay. But this one caught my attention, man. When you got the original people from the original movie back and you got the current ones, and this is set to be an epic conclusion to all 6 movies, not just this trilogy, but this one looked really, really good.
Sam Neill being back, that brings some weight to it. I mean, Goldberg, okay, or Goldblum, I'm sorry, but that'll pique your interest a little bit. But Sam Neill being back, that's the hat tipper.
And not just him, but when he walks in there and they recreate that scene where he talks to I can't remember her name, but Ellie Stedler or whatever in the movie, and it's like, oh, that's just straight out the first one. I mean, that one got me. That comes out on June 10th, and that looks, like I said, that looks good. I'm sure I'll be going to watching that one. The kids already asked about it. We got to go watch Uncharted this weekend, so I'll be at the theater probably more than I want to be, but that's all right. I enjoy that. We did get some more stuff. Disney Plus showed off their first official poster, announced premiere date for Obi-Wan, like we mentioned earlier, is coming out on May 25th. And in the official press release, they did say exactly when it is. I know we know when it is anyway. It's between episode 3 and 4, right? But this point, they say, okay, it's set exactly 10 years after the end of Revenge of the Sith. So you've had 10 years for him to, whatever it is that he's doing on that dirt planet. And Hayden Christensen's back as Darth Vader, and there will be a repeat duel from what we understand at this point. So really excited for that one.
I'm excited for it, but it's like, you always got the vibe in A New Hope that was the first time he'd even laid eyes on him.
Yeah.
in some time. I mean, of course, we didn't know at the time that that was Obi-Wan's former apprentice, yada yada yada. But
we say that at the time, but if this is 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, we know that it's a little over 20 years between 3 and 4, so maybe it's another 10 years after that. 10 years is a long time, man. I mean,
yeah.
So maybe that's the point, but I don't know. I am excited for that one. That's the show that I'm most excited for. I will say, too, though, that after watching some of the trailers we got during the Super Bowl, that Moon Knight show was looking a lot better.
That looks really good. I am pretty pumped about that right there, which I'm a Moon Knight fan. And I'm really, really hopeful. At first, when I seen the little mummy-esque outfit, I was a little, that's a little too much. Because, I mean, he's never, even though he's, Egyptian god type based, he's never had that mummy look ever. But they showed a Mr. Knight steel that looks great.
That and the in motion shots of that mummy Moon Knight suit, they weren't bad when he was in motion. It's just a standing still that looks a little off.
Yeah. Well, when his cape comes out and it's got the crescent moon, that looks great.
Dude, yeah.
That looks really great.
Yeah, that looked great. And then the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer that they dropped during the Super Bowl.
How insane is that?
Dude.
Marvel Zombies. That right there in itself, Marvel Zombies.
That, and then you got the Sir Patrick Stewart talking at one point. Now, we don't know if he's Professor X in this movie. But, man, that's the first place your head goes is, oh, Professor X is here. What the crap?
I've seen so much about the Illuminati finally making their MCU debut. It's insane. I mean, and there's no other way when he's like, should we tell him the truth?
Yeah.
It has to be the Illuminati at this point.
You would think so, especially since it's Patrick Stewart, too. It's like, oh, my gosh, this is going to be fantastic. But I am excited for that. That's a May release date as well. And, man, it's that Moon Knight and Obi-Wan all coming out around the same time. That's going to be a great month. We did get some updates on some other stuff, too, for Disney+. X-Men 97 Disney Plus series. Season 1 is going to be 10 episodes long, and it's premiering in mid-2023. We don't have an exact date yet, but we know it's probably going to be, I would guess, probably summertime, April, May, from them saying mid-year. While we're on Marvel movie stuff, rumor that Russell Crowe is going to be pulling double duty on Marvel movies. We already know he's in Thor, Love and Thunder. They haven't said who he is, as everybody's saying that he's going to be playing Zeus, but we don't know that for 100%, so we'll take that with a grain of salt as a rumor. But now he is signed on and joining the cast of Sony's Kraven the Hunter film. Now, again, no disclosure on what the role could be, but hey, he would have been a good one to me when he was younger as Kraven the Hunter. I don't know who they're expecting him to be in this, but I'm curious to see where they go.
Probably Kraven's father.
Probably something
or a mentor or something to that effect.
And while it's not an MCU movie directly, because we've already found out they're set in different universes from Spider-Man, but still cool to see him in there. One more bit
because these are Andrew Garfield's universe, correct?
Yes, from what we understand, yeah. And then we've got I don't know this actor. I'm going to be perfectly honest, but actor Anthony Ramos has been cast in an undisclosed role for the Disney Plus Ironheart series. Interesting thing here is they keep saying that this character will be treated similar to Jonathan Majors' Kang the Conqueror, and that he's going to debut on this show, and he'll have ramifications going forward to other MCU projects. I'm wondering if he's not going to be young Kang, because if you recall, Iron Lad from Young Avengers was Kang the Conqueror before he became Kang. So I'm wondering, because he looks kind of similar to Jonathan Majors in some pictures I've seen of him. So is he going to be a Iron Lad and young Kang coming out of this Ironheart series?
That would be the only thing that would kind of pique my interest enough to watch that.
I will watch it either way, but that's caught my attention. Is like, why do they keep pushing this? Because they brought it up multiple times now since this announcement, like 2 weeks ago, and it just keeps every time they bring it up. Yeah, he's going to have a major part going forward. He's got to have something to do with Kang at this point, because that's the big villain that they're going with right now. So I could easily see him being Iron Lad coming out of that show. But since we're talking about Marvel shows, Netflix shows, they're leaving the streaming service in March. I was a little taken aback by this at first, because I thought maybe is this a retaliation thing, because if you notice, they never once brought up and mentioned that Daredevil was in the top 10 trending shows on Netflix after No Way Home. But for 3 weeks from the time No Way Home debuted, every report out there said that the number one stream show was the Daredevil show with Charlie Cox in it.
How sour does Netflix have to be about that?
Well, I was wondering how much of it was, but then I got to digging into this more, and what I found out is it's just simply the simple fact that their license agreement ends on February 28th, and nobody would redo it because Marvel wants to take that stuff back in-house. That's why they told Netflix to stop making them anyway. So they want to put it on Disney Plus or Hulu at this point. So
they're trying to get everybody back under their umbrella after the debacle of the late 90s, early 2000s anyway. So
yeah, and I'm hoping that we see them go over to Disney Plus with some of these like Daredevil, and then like, you know, you and I were talking about one last night. There's rumors that Punisher is going to make a Hulu series now, and because it's not going to fit on Disney Plus. There's no way they're putting it on there. But if they could put that on Hulu and do it.
But John Berthal has said that he has been in talks. I've seen various things, but nothing confirmed.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're not getting confirmations. But then again, there's also a rumor that, hey, he might pop up in Moon Knight. So we don't know. So we'll see.
That right there will be, ooh.
Yeah, that would be a good. I love the scene from the comics where they run into each other and he says, "Hey, Mark, still crazy? A little bit. Still killing people? A little bit." I want to see that conversation.
That will make the whole series right there.
Yeah. But something we didn't cover earlier from the Transformers Fan First Friday that they did on the 4th. I'm going to have to buy this just for the heck of it. But this Transformers is going to have a sleep story launching on the app Calm, which is the #1 sleep app for meditation and relaxation in the country. So now you can doze off to the refreshing voice of Peter Optimus Prime Cullen telling you the history of the Autobots and Decepticons.
I don't know if I could sleep to that. I think I would just be too excited.
Have you listened to the preview? He is so calm.
I haven't.
It's Optimus Prime, but he's so calm and he's telling you the story and he's so peaceful about it. Like, man, I can go to sleep to that. I'm going to have to buy it just for that crap because it is a subscription service, but I'm going to have to get it just for that.
I feel like I'd have to stay awake to know, though.
I'm going to have to stay awake at least once, but after I've done it once, I might fall off after that one.
Yeah, maybe so.
We were talking about Hulu a minute ago, but I've seen a new Hulu announcement this past week. Futurama is returning for the first time since 2013 with new episodes. It's going to be a 20-episode season premiering on Hulu exclusively in 2023.
But the voice of Bender has not signed.
Not yet, no.
And Mark Hamill has went out in support of him and said if they do this with anybody but him, it's not going to be right.
Yeah, and I did not even realize because I watched Futurama when it first started, and then it's like Family Guy, got canceled almost immediately. And then it went in syndication. You just saw reruns. I did not even realize that they came back with new episodes until 2013. I thought it was just over after that
Comedy
first
Central,
2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, Comedy Central had released a whole nother season. Well, they done some little movies to begin with. It was like 3 movies they done, and they tried to break that off into a partial season. Then they done a season, and it was good. I mean.
Yeah, I'd have to be honest and say I've got to go back and watch it because I haven't gotten to see those. I don't know what even happened in them, but kind of interested to see where they go with that. I will probably watch the Hulu one if they put it on there.
You can't have it without Bender though.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be like having Family Guy without Peter.
I imagine they'll end up signing him though, and unless he just says absolutely no, then I can see it. Yeah, well that's the thing. Paramount Plus though also had what they call an executive session a couple weeks ago now, and added some more series to their slate of Star Trek shows. We went through like 10 shows, and they've added some more. They've actually added now a Starfleet Academy. It's going to be focused on the cadets at Starfleet, training to be the next generation of officers. And what I understand, the other show that they had, a New Worlds, that's starting up and has already been signed for 2 seasons, even though the first one hasn't premiered, is going to be set in the same time period as this new Academy one. So there will be some crossover potential between those 2 episodes, and they're all being done by the same team for both of them.
I will say it's pretty ballsy to go ahead and sign for 2 seasons right off the rip, but it tells the fans you're dedicated to it. That just knowing that a studio or a network is dedicated to something, that sells me on something far more than because I'm so scared to invest in. Like I won't hardly watch shit on Fox because they are the king of putting out good television, and they'll put out really good television, but you get 1 season, and then you like that Terminator series they done a few years ago. Great. I mean, they've done several comedy series and things of this nature that were really good, like Sleepy Hollow to begin with. You got 1 season, they got canceled, and then they realized there was a fan base, and they tried to go back, but by then, no one cared.
Yeah, it lost all interest after that.
Yeah.
So Star Trek does have a good following though on Paramount. I gotta say the Paramount shows they've done have been pretty good so far because I've watched most of them. But with that, we'll jump over and finish off our last bit of news here before we get to our con coverage. And there was a couple of video game announcements. A couple weeks ago, we saw that Rockstar Games confirmed Grand Theft Auto 6 is well underway in development, which I didn't even know that was a question because they keep pumping those out. You know, not real regularly, but when they do them, it's there and it sells. So
it's a cash cow. Just keep throwing them out. People will buy them.
And then one more that I know you're going to be excited about: Star Wars Force Unleashed sees a re-release on Nintendo Switch. It's up for pre-order now. It's supposed to be coming out April 20th. But I saw, and I don't think this was part of the original game, but now there's a dueling mode where you can do online battle with different characters.
Of course. See, I'm really envious because my daughter deboed my Switch. Like I lost my Switch. She has when Mario Kart come out, she took my Switch, said it's mine, and then it's hers now, and so I have completely lost my Switch, and I'm like, why can't you put this on PlayStation 5? like I wanted these. I've seen them on the network, and I can't bring myself to pay to buy them, but because I've done beat and defeated them both, but oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, since we're on the subject of video games, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Southeast Mayhem con that you went to? Because it was a video game based con.
Yeah, it was. There was a little over 500 people there in Tifton, Georgia, for 3 days, and it had everything from you had Tekken, you had Street Fighter, you had Mortal Kombat, you had Marvel vs. Capcom, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, huge Smash Brothers tournament. There was Apex, and there was also Fortnite. And I feel like I'm probably skipping one, and I apologize for doing so. But they put on a really great con there in the satellite campus for University of Georgia in Tifton. Like I said, it was pretty sweet setup. You'll see in our pictures and videos. The part I got most excited about was watching the Mortal Kombat finals. There was a guy who went by Just Nasty, and he was just nasty. He was playing as Koda Khan, and he was brutal. I mean, I felt the guy that made it to the finals, I'm sure he was an outstanding player, but he made this guy look terrible. Like literally in their first matchup, he was the other guy was playing a Shang Tsung. And he started out strong. Like he was hitting combos, throwing some fast. Oh, pretty evenly matched. And the next thing he started getting so bad that the guy just stopped. Like he forfeited the first match just to trade characters. It went to Sub-Zero, and I said, "Ooh, when you got to quit to go to Sub-Zero, that tells me you're throwing all your cards in at this point." And then he lost 2 more in a row at Sub-Zero, and that was it. And this kid was. I forget now. I think he told me he was 18, but he was from Tennessee, so apparently he was a bit of a ringer and going from place to place. I got to interview him, and sadly the audio was terrible, so we're not going to post it. But kid was a super humble little guy. Like I said, he went by Just Nasty. He was great. Smash Brothers they had a hell of a tournament, and that's probably the loudest I've seen people get. Like, on the final day, we went back and Smash Brothers going on, and they had a really cool setup. Like when you get to the setup, you had like 2, and they were surrounded by a cage, and you had a big screen there off to the side. And the crowd got pretty pumped for Smash Brothers. I was really, really impressed with that right there. So we watched the Fortnite finale, and they had an arcade off to the side, and I had to really school my son in some Marvel vs. Capcom. I tore him up a good bit, and I spanked Josh pretty good too. And I think Josh also got spanked by Casey. So yeah, we done a little battling. It was a good time, man. Like I said, you'll see in the coverage. It's great. If they come back next year, I'm really hopeful they do come back. When you're in the South Georgia area, check it out.
Yeah, and we'll cut over now, and we'll show you some free recorded footage from the con and some interviews that Hassel was able to get through. Now we do have a couple, like you said, that unfortunately the audio didn't come through very well, so we had to nix those. But you will see the ones that we did get, and we'll take you over and check out that now, and then we'll come back and we'll finish out with some nerd out and some closing.
live at the Southeast Mayhem 22, where today South Georgia's best real battle and supremacy to see who is the best around all of video games. You will have Tekken, you will have Mortal Kombat, you will have Apex, you will have Fortnite, you will have Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, Marvel vs. Capcom, Smash Bros. We will see who is the best today. Here with the illustrious Fox Sticker Crafts, wonderful artists who's on our logo. Here we are at Mayhem. How's things going today?
So far so good. We are here. I have my assistant with me. I've done all kinds of art. I have sketch cards, grids, original comic books, and then on top of that, I'm going to be one of the judges for the cosplay contest later today. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
You'll be here all 3 days?
Unfortunately, I'm only here today up until the cosplay. So if you trying to catch me, make sure that you're here before the cosplay at 3. So.
You want a leader, you want to get some great art, today is the day. Get here. Here we got a couple of guys, friends of the show here. We got Casey, Josh. What brings you guys here today? I bring them here today. So what do you want to do? You guys want to spectate, you can watch games and play with, or what?
I played some of the arcade games, and I destroyed him a couple of times because he's not that great.
I was ahead on the Marvel vs. Capcom. Let's say that there.
Until we went to the old version.
I'm here now, so I'm going to take that later.
That's fine.
So he's going to destroy him one way or the other later. That's how it is. You guys having a good time?
Always. It's pretty fun watching. I've always been a big fan of fighting games. So anytime I have a chance to go to a tournament and watch better players play, I enjoy it.
Exactly. So which one of the games are you looking forward to the most?
I gotta say, Smash Brothers actually looks the funnest to me to watch, just because you have the moment where they're getting knocked off, they think they're gonna make it, and someone tosses a bomb or an arrow, or just they're gonna
asshole move.
Yes, it's fun.
Edge Guardian is fun to watch, but I like Street Fighter. I've always been a Street Fighter fan.
You have been.
Preferred over everything, so I enjoy watching high-level Street Fighter competition at all times.
So you should be in there and play it.
I'm not very good. I'm a silver gold player. That's about as high as I go. You do like platinum.
This is true. All right, let's have it here from the Nerdy Manroom Show.
Hopefully you enjoyed the coverage of the con there and got a chance to check out all the stuff there. So with that, I think we've just got the nerd out section and some closing to do here. So why don't we go ahead into the nerd out, and as always, feel free to ask your nerd out questions if you have any in the comments below, or if you want to expand on any of our answers or anything else, feel free to put that in the comments. But Hassel, I think did you go first last time, or I can't?
I went first last week. It's your turn.
Okay. Well, seeing as this was another news-heavy week for us, I'm just going to go back to something in the news and ask, the DC slate kind of got my interest peaked a little bit because I wasn't too hyped on a lot of their moves until I saw that. But looking at that, just out of the DC trailer, what was the thing you saw that you were most interested in seeing from that you're seeing expanded upon?
Well, by far the Black Adam. And they're taking characters that you're finally getting a taste of Justice Society, and I think we probably all figured we'd never really see Justice Society on the silver screen.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it on the small screen, and they've done it justice. But to see it, you know, brought up on the big screen there, that's pretty damn exciting. And you know, with The Rock being, you know, the centerpiece, it's going to do big numbers. It's going to do well. There will be a sequel, and I'm fingers crossed. I'm really wanting either a Superman or a Captain Marvel cameo in there somewhere. I feel like you have to have one of those, one of the two. And The Rock has said he wants to battle Henry Cavill, Superman.
And I'm for that, as long as he doesn't pull out the win in the end. As much as I love The Rock, Superman has to defeat Black Adam for me.
That needs to be under the Superman title so that we know he gets the W.
Yeah.
But that excited me. I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and I had the same answer. Because, again, a lot of the other stuff we didn't see a lot of new footage of except for the Batman and that. And I'm not excited for the Batman. I'm going to watch it, but I'm not excited, really. But Black Adam looked great. So I will turn it over to you, sir. What was your question for this week?
Well, we'll stick in a similar toe, so to speak. If there was one property you saw a trailer for this weekend that you could sacrifice for another one that you created, what would it be?
Ooh, one that I could sacrifice and get rid of?
Yeah, you throw away one and you pick up another. But the same height, the same budget-esque.
Easily the Batman. I would toss it out in a heartbeat. What I'd want to pick up, I still think we need some more 80s cartoon properties done as well-placed movies where it's Thundercats, Silverhawks. I'd probably want Thundercats first, but yeah, I don't want Thundercats, and let's just get rid of the Batman. I have no desire to see this Batman movie other than the fact that I feel obligated to watch it because it's a comic book movie at this point. I'm not going to lie. It feels more like an obligation than a pleasure.
It does. It does. And I will second that. I will go with you. Glitterbug is sacrificed. And as much as I would love to see a big budget animated Silverhawks or something, or Thundercats like what you just said, I'm going to go with Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton at toe.
That would be interesting.
And I mean, I'm not sure who I would want to cast as Terry McGinnis, but you know, you need an early 20s actor that's got some star power, but you could also, hey, you know what, a Tom Holland would probably fall into that line pretty well too. I feel like him and Keaton could probably, well, I mean, we know they play well together, but
yeah,
he could probably fit that shoe too.
That would be an interesting one. That does pique my interest a little bit. But with that, I think that's a wrap for us today. Before we wrap out, let's remind everybody to go check out our sponsor, The Zone Collectibles, for all your nerdy needs. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com, on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles, and in their store in Tifton, Georgia. And don't forget to check out their Facebook right now to see all the events that they are signed up for to help support this year, and also help them support the local artist community by helping their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms Unite. And before we go, we're going to announce the winner and the prize of our first giveaway. I don't have a drum roll or drumsticks anywhere, so
we just done air drums.
Hassel, how about you tell everybody who's the winner and what the prize is?
Thanks to the Zone Collectibles, like you just mentioned, they've been an amazing sponsor for us, and they've been gracious to donate us various items. So our first winner, it was so hard to pick as you guys have been gracious to us on whether it be YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You've just been great to us. So we kind of just threw some names in a hat. We rolled around, and Wes Peacock, you are the winner of the first week's drawing. And as a result, you get an original art card by Foxfoot Crafts, and this would be He-Man. So I'll be getting this out to you. And just for shits and giggles, I couldn't help but resist. In my namesake of Hassel, you get a David Hasselhoff Knight Rider $1 million bill. So we'll be reaching out to you. We'll get your address and we'll get the stuff in the mail to you. And we're going to start giving away something each week. It may vary from week to week, and if we can do show themed giveaway, we shall.
Yeah, and I think we're going to announce the second one next week. And just because we're doing a news and con only coverage this week, we didn't really have one to tie to this show. But stay tuned for next week. We'll be announcing one for next week, and we do promise that we've had to put it off a couple of different times, whether it was due to illness or then we did a long interview, which was great, and then we actually, unfortunately, we were going to try and get the rest of the show out last week for the news, but the internet guys, the Skynet, did not like hassle very much, so we weren't able to get that done. So,
I just now got good internet.
What we're going to do is next week we are going to pick back up on our Transformers episode, like we've talked about several times and just haven't gotten to yet, and we'll announce our next contest, and then you'll have a week to enter that. So we're going to probably try and do the next couple as weekly snapshots. But with that, I think that brings us to a close for today. Before we leave, though, Hassel, tell everybody where they can find us.
You can find us on Twitter at Nerdy MR Show. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at the Nerdy Manroom Show. And, of course, right here on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell, share.
Join us right back here next week where we're going to talk about what's more to meet the eye. And until then, live nerdy and beware of Skynet.